Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Oh.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita?
Yes!
My God!
Power to us, doing what we love. But it's time to bang. Oh, yeah, Friday, December 20th. It's the holiday season 2024, and you're looking in on two washed, old, damaged men. Hey, it's Morning Kombat, the best damn combat sports show they ever put together. You know it's Friday, so you ain't got ish to do beyond wrapping those presents. I'm Brian Campbell, and I'm in the mental health bunker these days like it's 1917. Luke Thomas, though, is under the weather and can't sleep. So today's show is going to be awesome, Luke. All right?
I'm ready to argue over nothing. That's what I feel like today. Shouts to Elon Musk for being, boy, if there was ever any illustration that you could be rich and also the dumbest motherfucker alive, he is, I mean, excellent proof of that. Literally tweets out fake news. I mean, no other way to put it, fake news about the RFK potential stadium site in D.C., claiming that in the bill, the continuing resolution, that it's going to be $3 billion awarded that the federal taxpayers have to pay. A total lie. Not one penny cost. All it is changing the administrative jurisdiction from the federal government to D.C. so they could potentially build on it. And then it now gets scuttled. Yo, fuck you, you robber baron, Gilded Age motherfucker. Learn how to read, bitch.
So that's our lead story. Soon Luke will be talking about abortion rights and much more. So stay tuned to this combat sports cavalcade we have here. So look, we're one sleep out, John Anik would tell you, from Usyk versus Fury 2. Damn right, your boy is fired the heck up, despite all the other seasonal depression fueled challenges we are going through. Elon Musk will not be appearing on the show today. Neither will Randy Couture, nor, by the way, your fan subs or dead wrongs, because we didn't get enough of them. I don't know if Mikey only received dick pics, but morningkombat@gmail.com. Hopefully we can make those great again in the new year. But as a replacement, after our 5 topics today, we will close the show. Get ready for this, people. Most original idea we've had, with a live Q&A over the second half of this show. So we encourage you to jump into the chat here on YouTube, swim through the misogyny and racism and drop in your questions, whatever they are. You want to talk Elon Musk with Luke? Well, maybe you should meet him on Thursdays. You know what I mean? But
I can't believe this fucking guy. Can't believe him.
All right. So Luke Thomas, outside of everything else in your life that's in the shitter, how's everything, Luke?
Dog, my daughter got me sick again because she came back from kindergarten with, the bird flu or whatever the fuck is going around. And the result is I can't lay down and sleep, because when I lay down, it causes me to cough. So I have to kind of sleep halfway sitting up, which, as you can imagine, is not the most comfortable way to sleep.
No.
So I haven't slept well since last Saturday night. It's been
all right. This is going to be, if you followed Morning Kombat in 2022 and 3, this show will probably look a lot like that. But Luke, we will take you to the finish line. I will land this plane Sully Sullenberger style. All right.
I know you will. I appreciate you hosting today. You're the MVP. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's fucking, yeah.
All
Dude,
right.
This year. Man, who was the guy? Was it Adrian Yanez who got kicked in the balls and poked in the eye at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah. We got that and fish hooked and hair pulled. You know what I mean?
It's a long December, Luke, as Conning Crosby's saying. You know what I mean? But it's almost over. Hey, why don't we bring in a sunny side of this program, the third member of our team, the producer, director, degenerate gambler, and bong enthusiast in one half of the Main Card Minute podcast. How about Luke Nocita of Long Island and Aussie Rules fame? Luke, how are you?
I'm doing good. Doing way better than Luke this morning. Sorry, Luke, but
that's not saying much, but it's okay.
Yeah. It's a good morning over here in Long Island. It's snowing today, our first snow of the year. So.
Oh, you guys got snow up there?
Yeah, not a lot. It's not stick.
Tukey looks outside every morning and goes, "How come it hasn't snowed yet?" And I said, "It's because God doesn't love us."
All right. I mean? Well, there you go.
I don't actually hold on. I don't actually say that. I'm just teasing.
You just say it with your eyes and your facial expression.
It's hard to explain to her, like, we don't control the weather. You know what I mean? She doesn't understand.
Nosita, if we can bring you back in, I hear that you're planning a big main card minute Usyk Fury live stream exploration with one Gaffney Jim over there.
Correct. They're not being very clear about the start time. There's no
dude, that start time, I've been looking it up. 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m.
I saw 10:30. I'm not kidding. I saw 10:30 Eastern.
I think what's confirmed is 11. I think 10:30 pre-show, 11 a.m. is first fight. But those first few fights, not the greatest. We're gonna
no. That's when the main card starts. What I'm saying is, when does the ring walk start for the main?
Oh, I think that's like 5-ish, 6-ish, maybe.
I'm gonna guess 5:45 Eastern.
All right,
we'll
is that
find
the official
out.
bet? Is that the official bet?
It depends on how much Uncle Turkey plans on filling that card with, like, Eminem and
the headings.
Wow. Okay. All right. Here we go.
But anyways, we'll be live at 1:30. Hopefully, last 5-6 fights, something like that.
All right. I'll be on at some point Saturday night. I'm sure Luke Thomas as well. As Luke, come on. This Saturday, it doesn't get any bigger than Usyk Fury 2, so I'm pretty damn fired up.
Indeed.
Hope you all are keeping your head together this holiday season, whatever you shall celebrate. You can certainly help us out by liking, subscribing to the show right here, supporting, of course, our spinoff YouTube channels that make up the part of this extended MK ecosystem. Very eco-friendly, this show, by the way. And also, don't go to our merch site because it's dead, but coming soon. More new merch. I think, Luke. I think some things here.
I hope. That's what I'm going to say.
All I know is I have 4 different drinks for me this morning, Luke. Hopefully I won't have to urinate mid-show.
What are you drinking?
I've got the rest of the leftover coffee. I'm in the midst of a protein shake. I've got regular water here. And then I've got this bottle, which is half filled with leftover flavored water from Monday's MK show in New York and half filled with one of those hydration packets just to mix it up a little bit, Luke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're going to get the same thing that I got. You're going to get that AIDS that I got from Tuki's kindergarten class.
Get that. I'm like a bird, Luke. I'll only fly away. All right. So give me that bird flu. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. That's enough of that absolute BS. Luke, we're maybe 5 days away here from Christmas. If you celebrate, I know you do. Mm-hmm. Is the Tukes fired up look, this is what it's all about, Luke. Okay. This is it right here.
Yeah, she's super fired up. She went to the Colombian embassy last night with her mom and her grandmother. Christmas is it's a Catholic country, right? So Christmas is huge in Colombia, and they have a tradition called the novena where they eat food, they sing songs, they light candles, they do prayers. That's all kinds of stuff. I was busy working. It was during my live chat, but she took them and they had a blast yesterday. So between that and everything else, she is having, I think, a pretty great Christmas. She seems pretty.
Does she have a concept of where you're at? Like, does she want to live in Colombia one day, or is it all just the same land to her in her eyes?
Yeah, she doesn't quite understand geography all that well. She just knows that like she has to whip out the Spanish when we're down there and not the English, but she seems to be happy no matter what. I think is really the important part.
The kids. It's all about the kids, Luke. Okay. Indeed. I do believe the children are our future. All right. So
I told my wife I didn't want anything for Christmas this year. What did you tell your wife?
I said the same thing. I said, don't get me a damn thing because I already have it. Outside of almost,
that's exactly what I told her. I said, I don't need more shit in my office. Like, I'm good. Put the money towards whoever else that needs some stuff. I'm okay.
I'm like, can you get me some broadcasting gigs? Because that's what I really want right now. All right, maybe some self-respect.
I'd like a stocking stuffer of a job if that is possible.
There we go. All right. Hope you guys are ready because here comes your show right friggin' now. Topic number 1, you already knew it. Saturday afternoon Eastern time here, but it'll go down in Riyadh, Kingdom Arena, the big rematch, the May 18th. Undisputed heavyweight championship that is still, by the way, a finalist for Fight of the Year in this calendar year. They're gonna do it a second time following Oleksandr Usyk's split decision victory over Tyson Fury the first time around. Remember, that round 9 knockdown was the difference as the ropes held up Tyson Fury 114, 113, 115, 111 in favor of Usyk, and 114, 113 in favor of Fury. So they're going to do it again. 3 of 4 titles, along with that Ring Magazine Lineal Championship, will be at stake, and maybe a little bit more when we're talking about the historical implications here. Luke Thomas, first and foremost, are you as fired up as I am? I was slow to come around to this, but the last few days watching the pomp and circumstance of it, rewatching the first fight, breaking it down, I certainly don't feel the buzz stateside, and maybe that's just the reality of where we're at in Riyadh season and the control now that Uncle Turkey has over this sport. But aside from your illness, I mean, are you fired up like I am to see this happen a second time and find out what changes each man makes?
I am definitely fired up about the fight itself. I'm with you. Like, it's been the first fight we were very excited about as a fight. And it was this moment to really kind of consider the state of both boxing, in particular the heavyweight division. You could also add in, the larger considerations about it being in Saudi Arabia. But I'm just pointing out, like, there was storylines about the fight, and then there was thinking about the fight itself. And now it seems like there hasn't been any meaningful change to the storyline, so there really isn't much of one.
Oh, I disagree, Luke.
Okay, fair enough. Let me just make the point, and then I would love to hear what you have to say. But obviously, I think that there is still a lot of interest in the fight itself. And more recently, you could bring up a couple things. Tyson Fury not talking to his family, or his wife anyway, is kind of one of them. We'll talk. We'll look. We have some of the face-offs and stuff. I'm sure we'll look at it. But just from my vantage point, I would love to hear why you disagree. But from my vantage point, it feels like there is excitement about the fight itself, but people don't really have any renewed sense about why this one is different from the first one, or what has been different this time around. What am I missing?
Fair to some degree, but I think, look, the biggest storyline here, in a fight that was so close the first time around that, again, had Fury not been knocked down, not been ruled down, that fight ends up a draw, even though I think maybe you saw what I saw, which was Fury get off to a slow start, pick it up in the middle rounds, be the bigger man, control Usyk from distance with that jab, with that counter uppercut, with the focus to the body. And then right around round 8, maybe it was tied to some form of a stamina dump to Fury. I think you can pick that up as you rewatch the fight. But Usyk came storming back, great mid-fight adjustments, nearly finished him in round 9. And now we've got this perfectly close and brilliant first fight with Usyk as the rightful winner. And really the question is, who can improve? I'm of the belief that as great as Usyk is, and I've picked him in all of his big fights, by the way, that was probably the best he could have fought. I think he over-delivered in that first fight from our expectations, the bet makers' expectations, and everything. So the onus here is on the 36-year-old Fury, who I think to some degree under-delivered. Now, Luke, there are elements that we can point to, from his wife's miscarriage the night before the fight to the cut that forced him out of being able to spar during the training camp. Remember, this fight was scheduled for, I think, January or February. Tyson Fury had the cut. It was pushed off to May. It affected Fury's ability to train at the level he's used to. I also think to some degree he took Usyk lightly, and it all combined in there. We didn't see the Tyson Fury, certainly of old, with the fitness and the movement. You saw flashes of it. But now the question coming in is, what changes can Tyson make? Is he up against age and mileage more than anything else? Or is it all about mentality? Because as you teased, the big story for me this week is the mindset change in Tyson Fury, taking the training camp to the island of Malta, swearing off any form of communication with his wife, 7 children, and father over the 3 months. Removing his father from his corner, by the way, on Saturday, not talked about enough. And you saw him this week. Anytime a mic was put in front of his face, he didn't answer the questions that were asked of him, but it wasn't the normal Gypsy King thing where Tyson can be over the top, fun and goofy 1 minute, serious, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to knock you out the next minute. This has been full on, deep focus, full beard. Every question asked has been damage. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to kill this effer, all that stuff. And it led into the press events this week. So, Luke, if I believe the biggest storyline here is Fury up against it? Is he up against the wall for the first time in his career, has to avenge a loss for the first time as a professional in this great 16-year career? And is he making sure that there are no stones left unturned? I think what we see of him weight-wise on the scale will tell us a lot today. Is he going to come in thin like he did against Klitschko in the first Wilder fight? Is he going to come in big like he did the second Wilder fight? There's a lot really at stake for him in terms of that strategy, and whether he can come in with the stamina to match Usyk's pace, or maybe just come in bigger and look to maul and be dirty. But with all that said, how do you gauge the Tyson we have seen this week, which has been all about business? Is that telling you that he's coming in ready to give all in the biggest fight of his career? Or do you think maybe he's covering up, for decline or what have you, or embarrassment from that first fight? And maybe this is just another act in the Gypsy King's playbook.
I don't think he would have embarrassment from the first fight. I mean, it was close. It was close. It was a very close fight. I think we both had it for Usyk in real time, and obviously Usyk won, but it was a close fight. I heard something the other day, BC. Shouts to, one of my favorite rappers, Vinny Paz of Jedi Mind Tricks. He has a boxing podcast called Knock 'Em Out the Box. He does with another guy, and they're both super knowledgeable, far more knowledgeable than I, about the sport of boxing. And they said something kind of interesting that I would really love in answering your question to get through this way, which is they said if they were like in Tyson Fury's camp, they would change nothing about how he approached the fight. Now, obviously, he's made some changes in terms of what you described on the preparation side, but like the fight itself, they wouldn't change anything. And again, they know better than I do, certainly in aggregate, but I guess I don't understand that, because if I'm looking at Tyson, like, yes, the first fight was very close and he absolutely performed ably. Both, I thought, at the beginning of the fight and kind of to an extent at the end of that fight a little bit.
Yeah, he won round 12 on all 3 scorecards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he kind of, he rallied's not quite the right word, but he made a strong account of himself down the stretch, I think is the way I would put that, round 9 and 10 notwithstanding. But I do think he had to shake it up a little bit. I do think there's a lot to be done differently. It doesn't mean that it's an easy problem to solve. Dude, Usyk is like a ridiculously hard problem to solve. There's really no easy answer whatsoever about dealing with this guy. But you're asking like what have I detected from his mental state? I have detected that he did need to shake things up. Now, whether that will work, I don't know. I will also say whether he fully believes it can work, I'm not so sure about that either. Both from the face-off and some of the other things he's saying, like, there's a part of me that feels like he recognizes we have to do this different, and this different, and that he is leaning into it. But with full commitment, I don't really know. I don't know if I have a clear sense of that. I wonder if there's a part of him that kind of realizes, yeah, I can do all this, but I don't know like to what end it's going to happen. Like he's almost willing himself through it without fully adopting that is the correct path. That's just a read from the outside, but it's the best one that I've got.
No, I think it's fair. And look, some people believe the 2020 rematch with Deontay Wilder was the last time we've seen super prime Fury. I think I could argue, though, 2 fights later in 2022 when he knocked out Dillian Whyte at Wembley Stadium with that beautiful uppercut, that was still a very prime and elite version of him. But, in between those 2 fights, he got knocked down, 2 or 3 times against Wilder in the trilogy, but did finish him. We saw the performance against Ngannou when he came in at a career high weight and was forced to really hold and be defensive to eke out a split decision after getting dropped. And as you said, he didn't fight badly at all in that first fight. But if we're being hypercritical, Luke, his gas tank was not the same once Usyk made that mid-fight adjustment. And it makes me wonder to some degree, was that mid-fight adjustment fueled by the fact that Fury was no longer able to keep up that same pace. And suddenly you saw Fury actually backpedaling at times, looking to punch as he's going backwards, only 1 or 2 punches at a time. It didn't have that same output as earlier. Now you look at the CompuBox numbers, it doesn't, his output was pretty consistent across all. So maybe it's more of a mental thing, but look, Usyk landed 42% of his punches in the first fight, which is incredible, right? Like 47% of his power shots, which is also incredible. He also outlanded Fury 36-15 in power punches in those championship rounds. So I think stamina is going to be first and foremost. That Fury, look, he's not using it as an excuse, but I do believe the things that he's saying, the cut, not being able to spar, some of the mental distractions, maybe his dad in his corner and headbutting, Usyk's team as a distraction. All of that put him in a spot where I'm not really sure, even though you can certainly argue that the first Usyk fight was the biggest fight of his career, that the best version of Tyson did come to the table that day. Whether or not some of this is an act, and we're going to throw to the video in a second to show you what you're talking about, I do respect the fact that he has taken this old school Spartan approach, cutting off any form of distraction. He said he told Mike Hoppinger of ESPN he didn't have a cell phone on him during training camp, wasn't going on the internet. So you really have this like, okay, if this is it, if this is my first loss and I've got to avenge it here to get this trilogy and still have the chance to exit this era as the greatest heavyweight, then I guess I can respect and I expect the very best of what's left of the 36-year-old Fury on Saturday. The only question here is the 36-year-old Fury going to be up against the 37-year-old Usyk under any scenario? Because the best footwork in the game, some of the best pure boxing technique we've seen in the heavyweight division in decades, accurate punching, and as he proved there, enough power to make a difference for sure. But look, it's the mental focus of Usyk, it's the cardio, it's so many of those intangibles that Fury can't break him like he did other opponents. So I am very interested to see where he comes in at weight, what he looks like. I think it was strategic that Fury showed up at the public workout in a sweatshirt with a leather jacket over it. He doesn't want to give that away right now. But they had a face-off yesterday after the press conference that in this press conference, by the way, Fury said about 2 paragraphs worth of words, and they were all about damage. I'm going to kill this effer. And then they had a 10-minute stare down.
10 fucking minutes they did this. 10 minutes.
And it was so long that I don't know if you saw it, in the midst of the stare down, a bunch of guys came out dressed in typical, attire of that area with hand drums, and they were playing like this rhythm, and Michael Buffer was grabbing a walking stick and dancing. It was kind of weird because these two guys just stayed staring at each other. But after that,
I don't know if you know this, in the state of Nevada, during the pre-fight stare down of the press conference, if you stare down for 10 minutes or longer, you have to have sex afterwards with your opponent. That's a rule.
I know that rule very well. I mean, that's why I don't look at you while we do the show that long, just in case we fall under that jurisdiction. But after they did separate them, Fury did have an additional tirade. Let's listen in on it, and we can judge from it what we feel.
Okay. Get off! Robert's getting Robert's getting focused. Yeah. You're getting it, son. Butchered this time. Smashed to pieces. You 150%. The best you've ever been. And you still couldn't do shit. And you still couldn't do fuck all.
Don't be afraid.
You don't be afraid, you ugly bastard. Don't you be afraid, you rabbit-looking fucker. You balty-eyed cunt. You're fucked. Don't you be afraid. I won't leave you alone, you fucking idiot. No leaving alone for you. You're fucked. You ugly little fuck bastard. Yeah. Don't be afraid. You don't be afraid. I'm butchering you. Never mind, don't leave you alone. I'm going to annihilate you. You're going to wake up in the hospital, you fucking clown. You silly little ugly bastard. Yeah. You couldn't do shit last time. You got a gift decision, you fucking clown. You got a gift decision, and you still couldn't do fuck all. I'm the man. I'm the fucking champion, me. Only ever has been me. You're fucked. You ugly rat bastard. You ugly, bug-eyed rat bastard. I beat you 7 days a week, you ugly fucking rat. 7 days a week, you fucking bug. What's gonna do with you? Retirement for you, twat. Retired, you fucking bug. You fucking rat.
So Luke, the problem.
Does that sound like he believes that?
That's
you got
lucky.
Saying.
Well, here's what I'm saying. You can't get in Usyk's head. He's unflappable. So I think this is more about Fury just trying to get himself to that fever pitch point. And maybe, look, when I first saw this behavior from him this week, I echoed a lot of what I saw on Twitter was saying, look, Fury was the favorite for a reason the first time around. This fight was that close. If Fury, fixes what didn't go right the first time, and I see him with that mental makeup, he's going to be just fine. So I saw a lot of people picking him. But you do see that other half of people saying, look, this guy's got mileage on him. We haven't seen him great in a while. He's doing everything to try to will himself to the moment. Well, how do you read that?
That's my read. That's absolutely my read. Saying things like, we got a gift decision and you know, like it sounded like he was wish casting or like telling us about a fight we hadn't seen before. And again, it was competitive. Like absolutely, it was a competitive fight, but you know, you didn't do anything to me. It's like, dude, he had you on fucking skates. Like, what are you talking about? Like the only other guy to do that was prime Deontay Wilder, who didn't have any of the rest of the skill. I'm not saying Usyk's power is on par, but I'm saying, you know, to do to Tyson Fury, like that's insane what he was able to do. It's absolutely insane. It's remarkable. And again, I give Fury credit for kind of rallying a little bit late in that fight, but it's just not even accurate. It's not even been like, oh yeah, you got me good. Wait until you see how I'm going to return the favor, or you know, some kind of way. I mean, there's always a diminishment of what an opponent did to him, but that's like fan fiction, the way he said it, and that's the reason why I'm like, again, people have asked me what can he do differently in the next fight. There's actually a lot of things he could do differently. I just don't know what he actually believes he can do differently as a winning strategy to actually beat this master technician. And again, it's a tough thing to do.
Now, normally I wouldn't take any of his words with any level of grains of salt or whatever term you want to use because he flip-flops so often. But I will say, he's been consistent this whole build to this fight and whole fight week in terms of the themes of what he's saying. And one of the big things he said consistently is, I don't need to change a damn thing from the first fight because he still believes he won the first fight. He also doubled down and said he still believes that 2 of the 3 judges only scored it for Usyk because of the war between Ukraine and Russia, which obviously is ridiculous, but what have you. I mean, look, all 3 judges ultimately came together and found out that it was a 6-6 fight, and the knockdown made the difference. So if we're going to go on what Fury can do differently, I think a lot of people are saying, and Mike Coppinger of ESPN, when he did a feature on Fury and interviewed him when Fury was in Malta training, asked him that same question about, well, maybe you got to step up the pressure this time around. And here's an interesting quote in response from Fury. It said, if it was easy to walk down Usyk, if you're just a big man walking him down and bullying him, then Anthony Joshua would have done it, who is 6'6" and 260 pounds. And Daniel Dubois would have done it. These are massive punching big guys, strong men. They didn't walk him down. So I don't think it's as easy as just walking into somebody with your hands up. Now, Luke, Fury, in theory, even with the weight and the age, is more agile than Joshua and Dubois, has a better understanding of footwork in boxing. Do you believe him when at every turn Fury has been saying, I got to knock him out. I got to take this out of the judge's hands and I got to walk through him? It is kind of contradicting him saying, I don't need to change a thing. But are you expecting Fury, and maybe some of what he's telling us is to distract us and, you know, do typical Gypsy King stuff, but at the end of the day, do you believe in his mind the only way to actually win this is to try to walk down and walk through Usyk?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the problem, okay, so like the normal circumstance where Tyson Fury would have the edge, and it is where he has had the edge over everyone, is when he's able to use his length effectively to his benefit. But the problem is, if you are using that kind of a length and you're on the back foot, that means Usyk also has space to crowd. He has space to push you backwards. He has time to use that lead hand, which he circles and then changes levels with the feint. Like, in other words, in order to establish what Fury does well, you have to give oxygen to the conditions under which Usyk does well. And again, this is the problem. It's not like, oh, we'll just march him down. Well, to the point you raised, that ain't so easy. Like, guys who are really good have tried that, and it doesn't work that great. But I will say this. I think a higher level of volume, BC, might actually be beneficial here. It might make you get caught more, but you have to occupy what he does so he can't get going and establish rhythm. Maybe not walking him down, but maybe at times crowding him. Like, for example, one thing he used to do, this was like a Mayweather trick to the nth degree. Mayweather would be very good about eliciting a punch, counter-punching you, and then immediately, if not clinching, just pushing that forearm right into you and smothering you so that you can't get anything going. He did that, actually. Fury, if you go back and look in the early rounds, he actually did that to Usyk very effectively. I think more of that actually could be, you know, at least we think in theory, potentially beneficial. But the point I want to make is front foot, back foot, some of that does matter, and some of the emphasis is a little overstated. But taking control of the fight in little granular moments over the course of 12 rounds, rather than, like, yes, what was one of the best punches he threw in the first fight, BC, was that uppercut. And he landed it a couple good times on
yeah.
Usyk, right?
Oh,
but at
yeah.
the same time, you're waiting for Usyk to close the distance on you. And I'm saying there might be some great occasions for that, but I think that general orientation leaves too many openings, too much space, too much oxygen for a guy like Usyk. You have to constrain that. And so that's what I think they're going to try and do. But obviously, you know, is that executable over the course of 12 rounds against one of the best boxers we've ever seen? Good luck.
I mean, dude, Usyk is great. Even at 37, he's freaking great. And he's unbreakable, unflappable. He's courageous. He's got a chin. I mean, there's a lot going for him here.
His fight IQ is off the charts, too.
Off the charts. The adjustments, the change angles and mid-punch. I mean, there's so many things he does well. But when Fury was at his most successful, I think it was setting that firm foundation in the center of the ring, working behind the jab. When he would move forward, it was to go to the body. We played that sound from Frank Warren, his promoter, the other day, who believes that Usyk can be, if he has a weakness, it is to the body. And look, I don't know if that's true, but Daniel Dubois dropped him and thought he finished Usyk. Obviously, it was a borderline low blow that led to that fight, you know, continuing. Artur Beterbiev dropped Usyk at the 2011 World Championships. They fought 3 times in the amateurs, with Usyk winning 2, including in the 2012 Olympics. But it's certainly a strategy for Fury. The question becomes, Luke, can he keep up the stamina to stay with it? Because Usyk is going to carry a very electric pace because of how great his footwork is. So I don't know if he can live up to that pace, but if he doesn't act like the bigger man, he's 6 inches taller on paper. Obviously, it doesn't seem to be the fact. He's got at least, though, 3 to 4 inches on Usyk. He has an 8-inch reach advantage. He needs to be the bigger man, lean on him whenever possible, be dirty, be aggressive, be all of that, in my opinion, to shrink the ring and really make, it's not just occupying Usyk, it's making him carry your weight, making him carry that burden.
Okay, let me respond to that a little bit, if I may. So I agree, but it's not so simple.
Well, grip for sure, not so simple. Yeah.
Well, okay, so he tried that in the first fight and it didn't work. And there's very, very specific reasons why. Dude, again, this is what I mean about fighting Usyk. It's like, you know, pick your fucking poison. It's just not easy. For anybody who's never wrestled before, one of the best things you can get, or and MMA fans will know this, is double underhooks, right? Double underhooks is beneficial because it gives you inside control. And inside control is always going to be more valuable to manipulating someone's weight than, you know, yes, if you're huge and there's a giant size disparity, like if I give my daughter a bear hug and I go around her arms, yeah, she's not going to get out of it. But in general, for people who are roughly equivalent in size, you want to have inside control. But of course, and this is not wrestling, this is boxing, but there are other ways to establish inside control. And Usyk fucking did it in the first fight. You go back and you watch, dude, he has bicep control every time Fury tries to crowd him like that. He catches it and prevents himself from being smothered or hit from anything. And then also, if I have inside ties, what can I do? I can push off. You have no, if you're trying to crowd me and I'm trying to come around your arms and you have bicep ties, you're the one who can leverage your strength to push away. So this is why I said what he did before to me is a little bit maybe of a better idea, BC, which was, let's imagine, you know, he catches him, uppercut coming in, maybe it lands full, it lands half, whatever, and then you immediately, before he can do anything, you just drive the frame and the shoulder in, because then you are the one establishing inside contact. You're smothering potentially an arm and a shoulder, and you're the bigger guy, and you're the one initiating contact. Run him to the ropes, run him to the corner. If I'm Tyson Fury, I'm making that referee earn that paycheck on that night.
And
that's what I mean.
The referee in the first fight was Mark Nelson. I thought he did a fantastic job. Him ruling that knockdown provided the result we saw. I think I saw the name of the referee for the rematch and I forgot it. It wasn't a guy I knew.
I'll look it up here
extensively in that moment. And I know they also just recently had a judge change. One judge had to pull out, and the very consistent judge Steve Weisfeld is flying out to replace him. But you have to put it on the referee this time. You can't make it an open ring fight, in my opinion, where the footwork and the stamina of Usyk has an opportunity to ultimately win out. I get what you're saying. I get what Fury's saying, but Usyk fought like the bigger man. He took the fight to Fury. He landed the bigger shots. Fury's not only got to take that back, he's got to use every inch of the physical advantages he has to make this a completely different fight. and it might not make it entertaining. Do you remember the second Bernard Hopkins-Jermaine Taylor undisputed middleweight championship fight in which Hopkins, after losing a razor thin, the first fight was almost a classic. It was great. Taylor won the first 6 rounds, more or less. Hopkins rallied to win the second 6, more or less. It was a flip a coin fight. They gave it to Taylor. The second one, Bernard Hopkins turned that into an old school, mauling, disgusting fight that at the end, even though Taylor got the nod again, it could have gone either way. I wonder if that at this point is Fury's only option, which is crazy, Luke, because Fury, in theory, right, before they fought, we thought he is the heavyweight of this era. So what is it ultimately, Luke? Is it that Usyk's too great and can't be messed with? Or has age, mileage, motivation, the weird Ngannou fight, has all of this kind of caught up to Fury at the wrong time, in your opinion?
Well, again, we're measuring him against a standard of excellence that is going to be hard for any heavyweight of any era. Literally, I'm not saying that Usyk beats George Foreman. That's not my point. I'm not saying he beats Joe Frazier, he beats Muhammad Ali. But if those guys do beat Usyk, it's in a tough fight, right? I do believe that. I mean, that's the kind of guy you're dealing with here. Also, you're asking who the referee is. It's Puerto Rico's Roberto Ramirez.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any thoughts about him as a referee.
I'm trying to think extensively. Like I know the name, I know I can picture the face, but I don't know the name enough to know like, oh, that's this type of referee. He's going to call it this way.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Tyson Fury, I'm making him fucking work. But you know, to answer the question, I do think there's something to be said for the fact that, you know, Usyk has kind of remained consistent. He reminds me of Jim Zorn, staying positive, acting medium. I mean, it really is quite true. He has just
talking about the old Seahawks quarterback, Jim Zorn.
So yes, but Jim Zorn was briefly, you'll recall, the then Washington Redskins. He was briefly a coach.
Okay.
And he was fucking terrible, but he was a coach. And his opening press conference for the team, he didn't even know the team's colors. It was off to a bad start. Anyway,
it's a very DC centric program so far. I'm just trying to stay up with it. All right.
Well, he was more than just that, but it's funny because, you know, we were horny for Zorny here in DC for a time.
Oh, wow. Anyway. Yes. Okay, great.
All right. The one I wanted to make was, you know, it's like with Conor a little bit. Like Conor on his surge, he had distractions and was doing whatever he was doing in his life, but everything was still basically built around ascension. And then when he got to a certain point, he kind of gave that up for a variety of different reasons. Tyson Fury hasn't had exactly that, but he did give it up for a while. He beats Klitschko and then he goes almost insane and suicidal, and he gained all this weight and kind of had to come back, and it was a long road and it was difficult and it was glorious at the same time. But, you know, you lost time there. You lost opportunity there. And he's had other moments in time where, you know, maybe when he was fighting the Dillian Whites, was he training as hard as he could have? Was he training as much as he should have to beat guys like that? Probably not, right? I don't think that he was. And so you contrast it with a guy like Usyk, who I don't think he lives a monastic lifestyle, BC, but he has been on a path to clean out a weight class and then go to another one. Like, he's still on, to a degree, the ascension march. Yeah. That is not exactly where Fury is. Fury is trying to hold on to relevancy in a different way after all this time has expired. And again, I know Usyk's a little bit older by calendar years, but he never lost time. He never had super extended layoffs. He never, I mean, there's been mandatories and whatever, and some fights were easier than others, but he has constantly pushed himself, constantly worked on his craft. And now that he wants to cash in that equity on a fight like this, he's got it. Whereas it feels like Fury is trying to cram for a final the night before, and maybe that will work. Sometimes it does, but it's a harder road to get there for sure.
Yeah, and look, this week Usyk has shown us his typical confident, quiet self, joking at times, but the totality of his words have surrounded I will not leave you alone. Do not be afraid. Greedy belly. All right. So that's what we got from him. We do have this clip of him talking to his wife. Luke, do you want to tee this up?
Well, it's funny because Fury is like, hey, I haven't talked to my wife in months. And Usyk's like, bitch, I talk to my wife every day. Play the clip.
Tyson Fury says that he has not spoken to his wife and his family for 3 months. Not one word. What about you? Do you stay in touch with your family during these hard camps, or are you the same?
Yeah. I'm not watching my family 5 months. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm speak with my wife every day, every time, every second, every minute. My children too. It's helped me because it's my family. Listen, for me doesn't matter what do Tyson. For me matter what I do.
So having your family, speaking to them every day, that helps you.
Yes, of course, because my daughter, my both daughter, my little daughter Maria walk пошла, started to walk. Say mama, baba, baba is like a grandmother, baba. This is real motivated me.
Dude, he's an exceptional human. I love that guy, you know?
So it's like, again, whatever strategy gets you the dub is the right one, you know, and then if it's one for one guy and a one for another guy, but it just seems to me like Tyson is like, I'm gonna trash the playbook. I'm gonna do everything that, you know, all this crazy shit. And Usyk's like, yeah, I'm gonna call my wife and kids every day after training. And I don't know. It seems like he's more at ease with the challenge he's in front of. Fury seems less certain about the challenge.
I will say that's right. Yeah, I will say, look, I would say I'm more bought in believing that Fury is just trying to stay as focused and serious as possible. But I will acknowledge that if you have the opinion after watching all that this is more of a self-act from Fury and that Usyk is the man who's firmly in control mentally heading into there. The track record says it. The body language says it to some degree. It's certainly an understandable thought. Luke, I want to bring up something that is outside of the grounds of typical fair play in sport, but I do try to be an honest analyst and always have. For example, when Canelo fought Triple G the first time, what did I actually write in print was my prediction that we will all watch the fight and believe that Golovkin had won a close fight, but that ultimately Canelo would get a split decision win. Now, the first fight was a draw, but you got my point. And by the way, I did put $20 on the draw at 22-1 in the first fight for that same reason. There's a narrative going around that we know Turki Al-Sheikh picks favorites in a lot of fights. He's the Tyson Fury guy through and through. And he's actually been tweeting a lot this week and leading up to the fight, constantly referencing the trilogy, constantly tweeting out, if Fury can come back and win this, I will offer record money for the trilogy, blah, blah, blah. I will make that offer right away after the fight. So they sign it right away. It's been a fairly consistent dialogue from Turkey, who is him and by proxy, Saudi Arabia has spent a lot of money to make this a very grand fight week for those in Saudi Arabia. They flew out so many legends and actors and musicians. They had that grand dinner, the gala for the Ring Magazine rebranding. Look, there's a lot of good per se that Turkey's doing. One thing I don't love about the Turkey experience is picking favorites, matchmaking in the future, right? Announcing future fights before these ones take place. Do you have any fear that at least half of boxing Twitter seems to have, that if that first fight was razor thin, and it was, that it's going to be really hard for Usyk to get a decision in the rematch? I know that's outside of the grounds of normal fair play. Are you concerned at all? Because, Luke, this is boxing. Whether it's Turkey or anyone involved, this is boxing. And you know what that means when I say that. Have you noticed what I've been noticing?
Yeah. I think it is entirely rational to be skeptical if it goes to the scorecards. I mean, unless it's like a fucking walkthrough for Usyk, which I don't really expect, but stranger things have happened. I wonder if they're going to whore the guy, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, in fairness to Turkey and in fairness to Saudi Arabia, I might have that concern almost anywhere, right? Just the nature of boxing, kind of always trying to milk anything they can to enrich themselves, whoever it may end up being. In this case, it'd be Saudi Arabia, but it hardly is exclusive to them. But, you know, let's just say it also, I'll just say it also, like, do I trust that everything that they do is in all ways, every single time, above board, and there are no questions to be asked about, you know, whether or not these processes are conducted fairly? Again, I'm not alleging there's any misconduct, but do I naturally trust all of these folks? I, of course, do not naturally trust all of these folks. So if I'm Usyk, you know, you have a tough assignment, because not only do you have to beat Tyson Fury a second time in 2 fights, but you probably have to do it by a comfortable enough margin that they can't fuck it up for you. But even that is no guarantee whatsoever. Your only real guarantee is you got to stretch them, and that's not so easy to do.
Yeah, current odds from DraftKings have Usyk as a -150 favorite, +120 Fury, the close underdog. As we mentioned, the first time Fury's been an underdog since that 2020 Deontay Wilder rematch. Long Island Luke, while we're talking betting here, I don't know how deep you actually go in boxing and if you know the patterns and the absurdities that happen at sometimes. From a betting standpoint, does any of this information make you want to lean a certain way, even separate from who you think will actually win the fight?
No, like, sure, if you want to throw a little bit on Tyson Fury, there's probably value there, but I think we get exactly what happened in the first fight. An Usyk decision, it's +170 on DraftKings. That's what I'm riding with.
Ooh. What is I don't know how it works. So do they have Usyk by stoppage, KO, TKO? How do they do it?
They break it down as much as you want. You can bundle the KO, TKO. You can do just the KO. You can do just the TKO.
Read me those odds.
For Usyk?
Yeah.
So Usyk by just KO is +900.
Oof.
Oh.
Usyk
okay,
by
can we stop there for a second? There's a building feeling on Twitter, the people that are not believing Fury's shtick in his mental state right now, that Usyk could be in line to stop him late. At +900, dude, you got to put a flyer
but KO,
on
not
but that's
TKO.
that's strictly knockout. And then
did they separate it from TKO?
Yeah.
You can bundle them or separate. We're going separate first.
Right.
So just TKO is +425. And then if you bundle them together, it's +300. It's still really good value on that.
That's a great value.
Yeah. I'd still throw $5 on +300 and KO for Fury, just the same as I'd throw something on the decision for Fury. But Luke, let's get serious now. We didn't talk about what Usyk can do differently. Do you think we see the same game plan? Do you think that he surprises us again and jumps out on Fury off the opening bell and comes forward the whole fight? What are you expecting about Usyk? What does this second fight look like?
Yeah, I think Usyk is the one who probably keeps it close to the first one, where he's on the front foot. He's claiming lead outside foot position in open stance. He's forcing Fury into his left side, his power hand, and he's pressing him against the ropes. I mean, just think about like where all the big shots landed for Usyk. When they landed, it was predominantly up again. I mean, again, where was Tyson Fury when he got rocked in the ninth? Look at the real estate he was occupying. That is where I think okay. That is where I think the best chance is for Usyk and the likely place he will try and keep the fight. I will say this though, and this is what's kind of interesting. We keep talking about Fury. What can he do differently because he lost? But part of the reason we don't say that for Usyk is because it's not that he can fight any style, but he's a chameleon to a degree. There's a lot of different weapons he has at neutralizing, reshaping, or if he can't fully neutralize everything, just kind of fighting where he has to and then winning on those terms. Like he's real. This is what I mean, man. He's real clever. So I still think he'll go to what works. Again, that lead hand kind of circling, the pendulum stepping, the level changing, all that stuff, forcing Fury to his own left, to Usyk's own left. I think all of that's going to be in play, but it's going to be up to Fury to disrupt that. It really will be.
No doubt about it. I picked Usyk in all of his big fights. I hang out with Rafe a lot. That guy was day one Usyk. I know the brilliance. I wasn't afraid when he went to heavyweight of the size differences or the fact that he's not a huge puncher, because he's an accurate puncher, and that matters certainly with the pace he's able to set and all of that. But Luke, the thing is, you go back and you watch that first fight and you're reminded how close Fury actually was in that it largely was a 6-6 fight on paper. I think Fury can do better. As we look to this rematch, I can't get away from the pick of Fury by close decision, whether it's disputed, controversial, or straight up. Dude, give me Fury by majority decision.
Wow.
And give me a truly historic trilogy to decide the face of this era.
I certainly grant Fury can win. And I absolutely feel like if it's razor, I'll say this, if it's razor thin and it goes to the cards, and especially in a case where like, let's say that ninth round happens, but Usyk wins the round, but doesn't rock him, just like wins it, he was the better guy that round. There's no 10-8 there. Fury wins, but I think Usyk's going to get it done. Give me Usyk by decision. I don't think he stops him. I think he's going to have to get a little lucky, but I think he'll get it done.
Fury by majority decision, according to Long Island Luke on DraftKings, is plus 2,200. Fury by majority. Majority obviously means that one judge scores it even, and the other two judges would score it for Fury. So very, very interesting stuff right here. Luke, as it pertains to the meaning and what could be next, we know obviously if Fury wins, we already know Turkey's ready to offer that night a ridiculous sum. And if you consider the rumors are that Usyk is making 114 million for this rematch, Fury is making around 75, tends to be the rumors. I saw John S. Nash did push back on that and say his reporting might not be as high. But dude, if Fury wins this, we not only get a huge trilogy, and look, I just think politically it's aligning for Fury to win it. I think, like we said, if the rounds are close, if Fury's the bigger puncher, which he is, I mean, he's going to have to come out and be a different fighter to some degree. I certainly want to see what he looks like, shirt off on the scales and in the face-off. But not only will we get a trilogy, but talk about the exclusive club he would join. Fury would join Muhammad Ali, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and Vitaly Klitschko as the only 3-time champions in heavyweight boxing history. Even with the proliferation of world titles these days, Luke, that's not nothing.
No, dude. I mean, you beat Usyk. You reclaim 3 of the belts. I guess the ring title as well. I mean, dude, you're this would be massively restorative for him. Massively. Because again, you lose twice to Usyk. And yeah, you could fight Joshua. You know, who knows? There's probably a couple of things if you really wanted to, you could get, but your place in history is firm at that point and secondary to Usyk and to, you know, all-time great status. I mean, he's still going to be probably considered all-time great in certain ways for heavyweight, but you know what I mean? Like you go down a peg or two, you beat Usyk, and it doesn't even matter if you win the trilogy. You still have just that one over him. That would be absolutely crucial for how the boxing history books will remember his career and what it will place him as in terms of all-time heavyweight fighters. No question.
I mean, look, if Usyk wins here, he's already got the gold medal, the undisputed cruiserweight championship, the undisputed heavyweight championship. He would stay undefeated, and his 7 fights at heavyweight, if he wins on Saturday, would include 2 wins over Anthony Joshua to win the unified title, 2 wins over Tyson Fury, one of them for the undisputed, and a knockout of Daniel Dubois, who happens to be the current IBF champion coming off the destructive knockout of AJ. So, Luke, Usyk, I could certainly see if he wins this, that we get a Dubois rematch to once again put all 4 titles at stake, and I'd be all here for it. But what do you make of 37-year-old Usyk saying, and he said it again just 2 days ago, that he has another run in him as a cruiserweight if he wants to, and it seems like Jai Opetaia there is one of Turkey's beloved fighters and is certainly the class of the cruiserweight division right now. What do you guess would be Usyk's future if he wins on Saturday?
Retirement. I mean, maybe he goes back to cruiserweight. I don't know. I don't buy it. With all the money he's made and the age he has and the time it requires to be away from family and like the nature of where his kids are, I think he calls it a day. Or, you know, maybe he takes one down the road, but for the time being, he would certainly be inactive. I think he's going to hand these titles back to the respective sanctioning bodies, and that's going to be that. Yeah.
All right. Final question here, Luke, in terms of prediction. It's about the weigh-in. I want to tell you the weights from the first fight on May 18th. Oleksandr Usyk weighed in at 223.5 pounds. Fury came in at 262. Now, if you want to reference that, Fury's career high was one fight earlier when he was 277 3/4 against Francis Ngannou. One of the lowest of his career, by the way, came in that 2015 breakthrough win over Klitschko when he was 247. So if he had a 39-pound weight advantage the first fight, coming in at 262, where would you like to see him? Where do you think we will see him in terms of weight for this fight?
That one, I don't know. It just really depends on the game plan. I don't really have a clear sense. I tend to think maybe a little heavier is better, but that's only if he can manage it for 12 rounds. You know what I mean? Like, it's only if he can do the work rate and I don't know if he can. I think that's the part that I just can't figure out. So it will be a function of what they've cooked up in the lab. So I guess we'll have to see how the first few rounds go. Obviously, we'll see the weigh-ins today, but then let's marry that with what the game plan is and see if there's symmetry between them. Because I don't. Again, dude, this is one of those things where it's like, it's not so clear what the right answer is. It's not so obvious that there's like what one kind of approach to weight is so vastly superior to the other one. Not that I can tell anyway. Maybe you feel differently. I don't know what the answer would be.
Yeah, it's not just the answer of weight. I think it's also the answer of look and fitness level. Now, it's deceiving because Tyson has fashioned himself a full-time dad bod in the last few years, and it doesn't always affect his stamina. But then again, how many times is he in a potential back and forth barn burner over 12 rounds for us to have seen that? So I'd like to see him ultimately a little bit lighter than the first fight, because I think as much as he needs to be the bigger man and land the bigger power punches and make this a fight, which is never easy against Usyk, I also think he has to make sure he has the stamina to win 7 rounds. You know what I'm saying? So I think if we see him come in a little bit lighter, it might be better. But his dad for years has said, I want him over 3 bills. I want him to be as sturdy and powerful as possible.
Nah, 3 is too much. 3 is too much. Yeah. You're going to be too slow, too heavy. You know, there's going to be times in that fight where you're going to need to be fleet of foot, you know, and if you're 3 bills, dude, that's a fucking lot to carry around.
Well, John Fury's crazy. Let's be fair. That's probably why Tyson's taking him out of the corner here on Saturday. All right. That was our first topic. We went an hour deep. The fight warrants it. Check out our post-fight stuff Saturday on our YouTube channels. And a reminder, we will be back live this Monday morning, December 23rd at 11 a.m. for a normal morning combat episode. We're going to do it from home, but we are going to recap this fight and talk about what happens next, probably for another 60 minutes. So get yourself fired up. Topic number 2, however, is a fight that came across the Twitter waves this week. And initially we got groans, reactions of that'll never happen. This is crap. This is ridiculous. But now the story is oh so slowly evolving. And that's the idea that Conor McGregor's return to the fighting circle or cage or ring in some form might not be the octagon. Let's throw to the original tweet from Conor McGregor that got this party going. And it was, the rumors of a bout with Topuria are false. I am in preliminary agreements with the Ambani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. I have agreed. I will then seek my return to the octagon. Now, Luke Thomas, when this happened, we all had the same response. It'll never happen. You got to get Dana and the UFC on board, or this is the end of the conversation. Even Jake Paul tweeted out, this is why we haven't taken Conor seriously or responded to his team, because we told them, unless you have Dana on the UFC, it doesn't happen. But then you had people saying, look, Logan's a WWE wrestler. He's in the TKO portfolio. So is Conor. And then we find out a little bit more information from Ariel Helwani, by the way, about the depth of this family, Luke, and that this Indian family is not only one of the richest in the world, they own their own TV station. And what was it? The son of that was watching Tyson versus Paul and basically said, I want that spectacle for my home country. Let's listen in on Ariel on how this story has changed, and the fact that it's
I'm not sure if this clip exactly gets to that. This clip should be more just sort of legitimizing that the rumors are real.
Well, what Ariel's ultimately saying here, if you don't hear it, is that the rumors are real, the talk's real, but UFC and WWE are not involved yet. And obviously you'd need them in some degree, TKO wise, to be involved. Let's hear from Ariel.
Last couple of days, we've been talking about this Logan Paul, Conor McGregor story, and my phone continues to blow up. Fielding a lot of phone calls, talking to a lot of sources, talking to a lot of people, and that is the initial tweet that kind of, kicked all this off, right? That tweet right there, the rumors of a bout with Topuria are false. There were no real rumors, let's be honest. I'm in preliminary agreements with the Ambani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. I have agreed. I will then seek my return to the octagon. So this was on December 17th, 2 days ago, and that's what really sparked everything. And then I've been talking to a lot of people. And so right after that, when we did the show on Tuesday, I said there is validity, right? There is a thing here. Save that tweet if we can. Save that tweet. There is validity. There is validity to this story. This is a real thing, and it's not just Conor chatting shit, as the kids like to say. And I've continued to look into it, and I've continued to talk to people. And now I feel compelled to say once again that us talking about it is not us endorsing this, right? We're not saying this is what we want. I think everyone will agree that we want Conor McGregor to, if he fights again, if he decides to fight again. Someone's texting me now about this. This is all, wow, it's all happening.
Real time. In real time, we're getting updates. Should I book a flight to India?
We'll see on the back end.
Okay, so it is. We all want Conor to fight in MMA if he fights again, right? Yes, we all agree. That's right. Okay. Got that out of the way. So let's talk about what I know as of right now on this Thursday afternoon. This family, the Ambani family, which I went through the stats, right? I went through the stats, courtesy GC got them for me very quickly. I will be honest, and perhaps it's shame on me, wasn't so familiar. Now, after doing some digging, probably we should have been very familiar because they're one of the most powerful and richest families in the world.
Yeah, just to be clear, BC, Mukesh Ambani, who is the father, is the richest man in Asia, 9th richest man in the world, and his son is this big old fat slob who had a wedding, and it was like the most insane wedding you've ever
Ariel
seen
said
in your life.
600 million total that they spent on the entire wedding.
And like everybody who was anybody was there. And
Bezos, Zuck, like all those type of world.
And not just that, like there was like tons of celebrities who were involved in the whole 9 yards.
Yeah,
so like, these are very well capitalized people. I mean,
let me tee you up on this. That was Ariel, by the way, on the Boys in the Back program on Uncrowned Yahoo that he's got going on there. And Ariel would go on to say, like I said, that they watched the live Tyson Paul. They basically said, we want this for our own country, but they said, we want Jake Paul versus Conor. Jake Paul's team, again, said, we're not taking this seriously unless Dana and the UFC are involved. Ariel's reporting that as of now, UFC and WWE are not involved. But here's how I want to tee you up. Because, Luke, when I talked about this before hearing those comments from Ariel yesterday on my Wednesday live ramble that we do at the BCX, I basically said the only way that this is actually a chance in hell of happening is if Netflix is involved, I said. If Netflix is basically calling up TKO and saying, look what we just did with Tyson versus Paul. Let's do it again. Let's bring in who we have to do to get the signatures. And maybe, maybe Netflix is currently at the discussion table with UFC about a portion of the TV package moving forward. Then I could see enough TKO synergy in there to believe at least it's being talked about. But in your opinion, based on Ariel's reporting, without UFC and WWE talking right now, with just that family calling Logan and calling Conor, there's no chance this happens, right?
I mean, you say that, and then it's like, if they, they don't do this kind of thing, right? They're the sole combat sports promoter. They would just never do it. But it's like they've already granted him an exception before. And I actually think that there's a decent chance of it in the following sense. Ariel was saying, if we want to see him back, we want to see him in MMA. I don't have any desire to see him back at all. Let me just be very clear about that. I like, if he never fought again, I'd be completely okay with it.
You don't care if he lives or dies. Is what
I'm not saying I don't care if he lives or dies, but I don't have some like giant need for him to return and grace us with his presence. Like, I don't care about that. But what I was going to say is, if you think about it, you can do one of those things. You can do it over in India. And there is a great opportunity for laundering his image, as well as Logan's, who, has had a series of crypto problems that followed him around. So you kind of get a lot of that out of the way. They would pay for it. There would be some gigantic financial windfall for TKO. And it's a TKO guy in Conor on the UFC side versus a TKO guy on the WWE side with Logan Paul. Like, it's just in-house money, essentially, all from a rich benefactor. Like, if you're TKO and Conor and Logan, and depending on what your combat sports appetite is, there's like a ton of upside to doing this. And I think, they don't do these kinds of things often, but they've made an exception before. And the biggest one was to this guy. I don't know. Like, does it actually cross the finish line? I think our natural instinct is probably not, but I wouldn't dismiss this one. I feel like there's a lot of chance like this could do something unusual.
I mean, when we're talking about Turkey and Saudi, we're talking about different levels of money. I think when we're talking about this man, and the family that we're in question here, we are talking about different levels of money. Ariel reported that after doing research, he found out that this family started up their own startup cable network out of nowhere, challenged the #1 network in India, became #1, and then merged together. So there's aggressiveness, there's a deep pockets. And Luke, we all said initially, and you can't forget this, we all said initially that Maymac would never happen because we never thought Dana would let him. Then it appears in hindsight, we might be able to come to an understanding that TKO, less than a year in ownership, not TKO then, Endeavor, right? So Endeavor, less than a year in ownership of the UFC, seemed to play a hand in pushing Dana in the direction of being a part of that fight, not just because it avoids angering Conor and taking him to court at the time when he's the biggest star in the world back then. Also, the reports where they got $40 to $50 million to be the co-promoter. What if this family, who just spent $600 million on their son's wedding, what if they're like, hey, UFC, here's $100 million to make sure that this fight happens? In modern 2025 TKO global business, this fight happens, Luke, if they're going to bring like some stupid amount to the table, because they got debt they got to pay off still from
it's literally free money. And it sounds like they don't have to. I mean, they probably would have some obligation for using their resources to promote or whatever. I'm sure they'd be on the hook for some kind of expense. But in general, it's just free money from a guy who's got more money than they know what to do with, almost quite literally. Again, and everybody is, in-house. This is not like they got to split it with Floyd, who has some kind of deal, and there's Steven Espinosa on stage and they have to just kind of, grin and bear it. This is everything in-house again. And I don't want people to lose sight of this as well. Like, people are kind of glossing over this, but it's a real factor. If he actually does want to come back to the octagon, getting this fight first launders his image, and it makes, making him palatable. I mean, again, I don't think his image has been all that damaged at all, really, here in the United States, but certainly in other places it has been. But it just makes everything smoother along the way, and it's free money, and it's all in-house. I don't know, man. That's a unique incentive that they may not be able to turn down.
Dude, and this is the same argument I gave you when we were kind of back and forth over text about could Ngannou Jones ever happen, because TKO might reach for the spectacle. But, a lot of people push back on me saying that publicly, basically saying, I don't think Ngannou Jones brings that type of money or attention to the table that would make it worth it. Conor versus Logan or Conor versus Jake or any combination of it does, especially right after the debacle of Paul Tyson, which was a debacle from a boxing sporting sense, certainly not from a crossover numbers sense. So, Luke, do you think this would need a Netflix connection, or do you think this could be some synergy with the evolving Dana White move into boxing with TKO, where maybe they look at this as like the perfect launch event for everything they're doing? I mean, could you see them basically, like we're talking about, looking on paper, looking at the money, looking at the opportunity, and going, F it, we'll go all in on it, even though our instincts would be Dana's not going to reward Conor for skipping out on International Fight Week against Chandler last week with this stupid big fight? Will TKO tell him to stuff it? We're doing this.
I don't know what kind of footprint Netflix has in India. I would imagine it's substantial. I don't know. I think that would be a big driver of it. Does Netflix really want it? It would be another one. I mean, again, here's the thing though, like, even if the only question would be is if they wanted to air in India, what platform would it be on that services that market? And I don't know nearly enough about India to really say.
Well, to interrupt you, I can just tell you quickly that I found out when they had that influencer fight on the first fight of the Tyson Paul main card, that it was purposely a famous Indian influencer against a famous Brazilian, because those are the number 2 and 3 markets for Netflix beyond the US.
Okay. But imagine Netflix says for whatever reason that they don't want it. I don't know that they would, but just imagine that, right? So then now what do you do? Again, you would have to find a way to service that Indian market. On that level, I just don't know enough. But you're talking about a company that is like a combat sports behemoth in TKO. Like, if they can't find a solution, nobody can. And I tend to think, again, I don't know exactly how the nuts and bolts will all come together for something like this in the event that TKO actually is interested, but these people have the world at their oyster. They have all the money in the world. They have all the deals in the world. They know everybody that they need to know. They'll find a way. I just don't know exactly what it looks like and if they charge for it and how much. And yeah, there's just that part I couldn't possibly say. But there's there's capital, there's broadcast arrangements. They have just about everything that they need.
All right. One thing I haven't seen, by the way, is an overwhelming amount of actual interest in the fight. And maybe it's because Tyson Paul took the idea of these crossover kind of not real fights and really just dunked on it, really just kind of made it hard to reproduce it, because we're all like, was that fight fixed? Or even if it wasn't, man, what a shit show with a 60-year-old guy in there. Do you think if this fight got made that it would draw maybe not Tyson level of attention, but that it would get everyone on board, meaning combat sports fans, YouTube fans, young people, old people? I cannot tell you how many times my mom texted me about Paul versus Tyson. Will this fight, if it happens, be anywhere near that level in your eyes?
Nobody here has Mike Tyson global fame in that way. But it would be big. It would be big. Again, Tyson Paul, or Paul Tyson, whatever. My understanding is it did 2x what Netflix was expecting. And that's part of the reason why their resources were overrun. They just did not anticipate they were going to get hit like that. So even if you wanted to say it would be half of Paul Tyson, that was also in the history of Netflix the single most successful event in driving one-day subscriptions. They drove 1.4 million subs just from that one event. BC, that's more than DAZN has in the United States, and they've been here for quite some time. I mean, just sort of like noodle that for a second, how insane that is. So even if you were at 50% of that, you would have been at what Netflix was anticipating, which was probably in their minds an aggressive view of like what that fight could draw. I don't really have, it's weird, right? Like we covered Mayweather versus Paul, but that seemed, I don't know, jokey joke. I don't know. Like, let me ask you, BC, we were there. We had the Versace robes and all that shit, but we were kind of, we weren't taking all that serious. Like, how does, in your mind, Paul and McGregor differ from Paul and Mayweather in terms of how the public might perceive it and what kind of business it could do?
I'm wondering if the public looks at it and says, like, it's weird and all this, but it's still kind of an interesting fight due to the size difference. And I got to be honest, I thought that, the combination of Showtime and Fan Mio and Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul promoted the shit out of that fight on Showtime pay-per-view. And I don't say that as a Showtime guy. I say it like they genuinely got me intrigued for something that was super weird. Now, I think ultimately the fight played out even super weirder, where we couldn't figure out if it was like some soft agreement that they wouldn't beat each other up, or maybe just the fact that both were kind of ineffective against each other. Like, let's not forget that Floyd immediately after almost sounded like he was reluctant that he did it and said, I don't need to do these anymore, as if eating some stiff jabs from a bigger man in Logan was like enough of a scare at his age. But I also could talk myself into the idea that it wasn't what I saw. It was weird and stupid in the end. Do you think the anticipation would be that, given that it's Conor, that it'd actually be a fight for however it looks, whatever the difference in size and skill level and experience is, that it would actually be a fight?
Logan's a big dude. He doesn't have any of the same skill that Conor does, but I don't know what's left of Conor's skill. I don't know what's left of Conor's motivation. I don't know what's left of Conor's physical ability. Again, we've been watching his Cal Ripken-like streak of not being sober in public the last year, and I don't know what that does to him.
It might go beyond a year at this point. It might be like a 3-year lost weekend.
Yeah, fair point. But I mean, you get the idea. Like, it's just been an insane run, and it's just
Oh, God bless you, Luke.
Dude, just I mean, ending the year like this is perfect. Ending the year like this is just absolutely the appropriate way. But I tend to think here's the difference. Here's the difference. When Mayweather fought Paul, it was exhibition and all that kind of stuff, and silly and all that kind of stuff. But Mayweather's career, the Berto fight had happened, what, 7 years before, 8 years before, whatever it was. He had been essentially retired for quite some time, and this was just, fuck around time. Conor has talked about this fight taking place, or this exhibition, whatever you want to call it, and then going back to the octagon. Like, he still wants to actually fight relevant guys, and I'm going to guess, the most relevant guys he can after an event like this, if it were to take place. Like, he's not, in his own mind anyway, done. And if the UFC booked him, they're not going to give him like an absolute nobody. They have to give him another name at a bare minimum. And so there's actually different stakes involved here, because if Conor looks bad, which, you can put whatever likelihood you want on that, but if he does look bad, I think that does affect how UFC matchmakes him, if they matchmake him at all, or what that even does. Versus if he comes out there and just looks amazing, it really boosts his prospects for a big fight and what that could mean, and how he might perform and how people's confidence in him might be. Mayweather didn't really have any of that. He didn't have to worry about any of that. None of that was on the line. His career had already come to the professional career had already come to a close, and he was just fucking around. This is the stakes are a little bit different with this one, even though it's just an exhibition.
We talked when you and I were debating whether there could ever be a Ngannou versus Jones, Super Bowl of UFC heavyweight championship while Ngannou's still with PFL. And look, I respect what you're saying. That would set a terrible precedent for the future. What about this setting a terrible precedent, since I don't think Dana's got anything against Logan Paul, but he's certainly not, buddy with Jake Paul, which seems to be a rival of his, not just for calling him out, not just for knocking out a lot of ex-UFC fighters, but also for teaming up with the PFL. Is there a part of you that believes Dana would want to stop this fight for the fact that you wouldn't want to establish a precedence that active UFC fighters could join the Paul sweepstakes?
What precedent? Like, none of them have leverage. Conor doesn't even necessarily have leverage, but it's just too good of an opportunity to pass up. Like, the Ambani family is not asking for Grant Dawson to fight. You know what I mean? Like, they're not asking for Ricky Tercios to fight. They're only asking for Conor, and he's in a very special class of his own. There is no leverage. I don't think they have to worry about that. Again, it's free money. It's the kind of guy who has always kind of broken the rules, so to speak, in terms of like what fighters get away with on their contract and what he's able to like advance past. He's a special case, and I don't think that really changes anything.
All right, well, let's talk about the actual fight to close this topic, Luke. What would it be? I mean, you'd have to do it at a catch weight. Logan seems to be around like heavyweight body or cruiserweight body in boxing terms. Conor's, what do you think he'd box at around?
So I looked up the weigh-in results for Mayweather Paul, and Logan was not allowed to weigh more than 190, but you could imagine he could be bigger than that.
Sure.
So, I suspect it would be something along those lines where Conor would probably come in 170-ish, 180-ish, something like that.
It'd be an exhibition with no judging, which would automatically make it kind of a shit show, right?
Again, if you're just paying for spectacle,
who cares?
Shit show is sort of the part. That's what you're paying for. You know what I mean?
All right. Then the other question I have is this.
Here, Long Island Luke says Paul was 194.4 versus Dylan Dennis. I forgot that fucking fight even took place.
Yes. Okay, so he's right around that weight. It'd still be a major size difference. My final question on the business side of this, is there any part of you that believes if this starts to gain steam, meaning the Amani family or however you want to pronounce, I forgot what the spelling of it already, calls up Ari Emanuel and Dana finds out about it, does this push Dana to break glass in case of emergency and make Topuria versus McGregor in the UFC cage? To say, look,
I don't think so. I think they're too far apart in weight. And I know it's like, oh, he could fight 155 and he's 82 kilos off camp or whatever, but I just don't think I don't know. I mean, maybe you feel like it's different. I kind of feel like they're just on different paths, but
I'm just wondering if that might lead him to go, hey, good idea about that crazy super fight, but I got this one right here for you. Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
What do you make quickly? Also, I wanted to bring this up about Turkey. He told Marcos Viegas of Fight Hub TV, who was there at the Ring Magazine Gala they had yesterday, when asked if he would bring more Riyadh season cards to America.
It's all this, yes.
Turkey told Marcos not for Riyadh season, but he specifically said that Ring Magazine is out of Turkey's own private equity and not from, in theory, I guess, the money from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and that he would be interested in bringing ring events to the States. So is Ring Magazine also going to be like a promotion or sponsor for fight series in the States? I don't understand it, but it's weird, right?
It's just going to be a thing that they control for their own purpose, for their own glory. Accept it. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to topic number 3, Luke. And we thought Alex Poatan Pereira was headed to a light heavyweight title defense against the number 1 rated guy, Magomed Ankalaev, the toughest style matchup some believe on paper, and all of that. Until a Poatan tweet came out that cryptically said the opposite. And it was Alex saying it won't be Ankalaev, to which Magomed replied, chicken, with 3 chicken emojis. Luke, I pair this, with rumors circulating. And we all said this, well, if it's not Ankalaev and if it's not John Jones, then who the hell is it? Now you see rumors that it could be Khamzat Chimaev. What? Luke, what are we doing here? You got people saying Poatan's ducking. Is it more about a UFC business thing? Because we all thought Chimaev was going to fight DDP next, but instead, curiously, Strickland got the call. Make this all make sense to me.
The Chimaev one, again, sometimes fights get made that you just never see coming, and it sounds kind of weird. I guess I don't understand that one. It's like, let me see if I understand this. You're going to give a top middleweight contender who's basically next in line for a title shot. You're going to just skip that and risk him either getting viciously KO'd, which is possible, or you're going to watch him thrash your 205-pound champ, and now he just becomes the 205-pound champ. And now he can't be the number 1 contender. You just lose out on that guy having the showdown in the more appropriate weight class just to kill off your top fucking 205. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't really quite understand it. And, to the question of whether it is ducking, that part is a little harder to know. I'll just say this. If Ankalaev is ready and Poatan's looking for an opponent, and UFC has, quite clearly suggested that Ankalaev's number 1 guy, and Poatan doesn't want to fight him, that's ducking. Yeah. That's ducking. Now, if there's some other factor that we don't know that is in play here about why things are progressing the way they're progressing, then that would change the debate. But like, Ankalaev seems to think that he is the guy. We all think he's the guy. Dana White has declared he's the guy. If he's ready and you don't want to fight him, there's one word for that. That's ducking. So I'm going to give, because Poatan has done such an amazing job in 2024, I think we owe him, at least for the time being, a little bit of the benefit of the doubt to hear exactly what the fuck he's talking about and what's going to happen here. But it should be very clear. If Ankalaev is ready and he's just saying no to the guy, I don't know what else you're supposed to call that except ducking. I don't know what else it would even be.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I guess the history of Poatan, I can't believe that he would duck here. Like, he wants to do it. I think he would fight John Jones tomorrow if they gave him the chance. Like, I just think he's about that life. So this now makes me kind of start to conspiratorialize and say, look, if we are on the understanding that in modern day UFC, in this year of 2024, which you can debate is either this insanely great year financially for UFC, taking on new international territories, expanding, or it's this frustrating year where the fans are getting underserved, overcharged, and, watered down matchmaking, that we're noticing that the people that spend more get better fights. Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, some of these UFC cities that sign up for the big TKO deal where they get a WWE pay-per-view the same weekend as, UFC, what have you. Is there any part of you that believes that maybe Saudi or UAE was like, no, we need a really big one for our next one. We want Chimaev. We want Poatan. Make it happen. That wouldn't happen, right? They're not getting strong-armed by the site fee, right?
That's an interesting theory. I tend to think, okay, so to your point, I tend to think that's less likely than the other possibilities that would explain the situation. But I will tell you, BC, I think, listen, what's the number 1 rule in combat sports about why things happen? Follow the fucking money.
Yes.
Follow the fucking money. And if the Saudis or the Emirates or whoever is coming to UFC and saying, listen, we'll pay top dollar to make a fight that features, obviously a standout Muslim attraction in Khamzat Chimaev against whoever, and that's the best fight that they can come up with, or that's just who the benefactors wanted. I mean, I know people kind of hate when I just go on about this and they feel like it's a beating a dead horse, but like we are in the wealth extraction phase of the UFC monopoly, and one of their top customers are other governments or state governments, depending if we're talking about stateside. And again, I think, we're just speculating here. I want the audience to very much understand that we are truly just speculating. But I don't think I'll say this. I don't think what you're suggesting is implausible. I don't think it's implausible.
I mean, look, we'd all love the fight, but it's really screwed up to do this to Ankalaev if that happens. Don't forget Chimaev.
That would be insane to do.
And don't forget Chimaev was just a welterweight title contender. And I know he's talked about being willing to move up, but it's like, holy crap.
Also, that theory doesn't really work because Ankalaev is also Muslim, right? So you would be just substituting one Muslim guy who's a bigger. I mean, Khamzat's the bigger star, obviously, but Ankalaev, like if you beat Poatan, he becomes that guy. You know what I mean? Or
I just remember when WWE first started to go to Saudi, the decision makers for the Kingdom of Saudi that were handling the entertainment budget would specifically request people. They had to bring Goldberg out of retirement. They had to bring The Undertaker and Lesnar over. They wanted Yokozuna, who had died. So Vince just found another sumo looking fella to bring in. Like they were able to pick off the menu. I just wonder if that's where we're headed, because Luke, Turkey's not like just sitting up there in the booth, putting his money in the little bank thing and having it zoop down to people. Turkey is the center of what's going on in boxing. He's basically boxing's commissioner right now, calling all of the shots. And I don't know if the rumors that are out there are true about Top Rank going to DAZN 2, just like I don't know if the rumors are out there true that Turkey is buying, or Saudi Arabia is buying a big chunk of DAZN. But I'm showing you that the control is there. The UFC and Dana can keep a firm level of control on their side. But if Dana and Turkey are going to partner together in boxing, maybe this is people ordering off the menu. Just a conspiratorial idea. Interesting scenario. I still hope we get Ankalaev next. That's my
take. I'll just say this. I really, really hope he's not ducking. I really hope he's not, because he's had such an unbelievable run. He has done so much for himself and the company, and brought so much joy to MMA fans. Dude, listen, coming in on short notice and fighting the guys that he did was amazing, but you got to fight the top guy now. And the top guy, he's a donk, but he's the top guy. Ankalaev deserves a title shot next. That is the only fight that makes sense.
He already did. He already friggin' did. He already deserved it, okay? You already made him jump through another hoop.
It's time to give Ankalaev what he's earned.
All right, it's time for topic number 4, and it does bring Turki Al-Sheikh back into it, because ahead of this Saturday's Usyk Fury rematch for the Heavyweight World Championship, Turkey has created something. It won't be an official judge on Saturday, but Turkey and the Kingdom will be experimenting with AI judging. And Luke, this got a lot of purists like myself, and I'm going to guess you, really starting to ask some questions. Do we have an issue with judging in combat sports? To a certain degree, yes. But AI computer fixing it? Let's throw to this video announcement, and then I want to get your reaction.
His dream comes true. Oleksandr. He's done it.
I believe I won that fight.
I don't want anything to effing do with this at all. This
is a total fraud for people who don't know shit about anything. That's who this is. Like, I just love that they didn't demo the technology at all. They didn't explain at all how any of it is supposed to work. Now, I know some of it is based off of existing proprietary technology, but that existing proprietary technology is largely designed around highlight creation and stats compilation, not necessarily getting into a place where it's able to adjudicate winners, which is a very, very complex task. They just rolled out a highlight package. They put literal fucking computer code from C++ on the goddamn screen. And people are all like, oh, this is fucking, this is good. This is amazing. This is a revolution technology. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's vaporware. It is absolutely bullshit. They haven't explained to you how it works. They haven't shown you why it's superior. They haven't demoed the technology to anybody. Nothing. And even then, like, I have great skepticism that AI can even do something like this presently, or maybe ever, but certainly presently it cannot do this. Like PFL has tried a similar system, which is just guys putting in inputs into an algorithm and then it comes out the other side. You know, this is nonsense. This is total nonsense. There is nothing to this whatsoever. And what, by the way, BC, that's not to say that like whatever like shit they've cobbled together here, you know, if we think that Usyk won and you think Usyk won, and then the AI judge, whatever the fuck you want to call that, says Usyk won, but then it goes to Fury, you can be like, oh, the AI judge knew better, but we don't actually know that it knew better. We have no idea.
Who's programming the AI judge? The same guy that wants John Jones pound for pound
This is
number
what I
one?
mean. They just made a sizzle reel where they can say literally anything, and they haven't shown the technology. They haven't explained it. They haven't done anything at all. We're living in a moment where tech is groping for the next thing that they can sell to consumers. So you got Gemini in your Gmail, and you've got Apple Intelligence on your iPhone, and half the shit is really not that valuable. It doesn't do much for you at all, but they got to shove it in there because that's just the hot new thing. That's what this is. They're just trying to get you to watch this event, and they're just saying, oh, we have an AI judge, whatever the fuck that means. We've not demoed it. We're not showing it to you. We're not explaining it to you. We haven't demonstrated a record of why it's better than human judging, which, by the way, BC, we can all agree human judging is far from perfect. We're not saying that, you know, there's no room for improvement. We're just saying you can't make a sizzle reel off of very underdeveloped technology and then call it a revolution. It's a revolution for people who don't know shit about shit. That's who it's for.
Look, could something like this work in baseball where they're always experimenting stuff? It's different. In baseball, you can look at an instant replay, and a computer can instantly tell you if someone got to the base before the ball did. Maybe that's possible. Or a set strike zone, they can tell you if a pitch landed in there or not. Boxing's too subjective for that. And if we're already talking on this program about how, like, parts of the Saudi boxing experience, parts of it are uncomfortable beyond the sports washing and all that. Sometimes Turkey seems too close to it, too close to one side of it. Now you have the potential for the feeling of impropriety of, you know, one fighter getting programmed in to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want anything to do with that, in my opinion, if you're a fight promoter or you're paying to put this on, or whatever role Turkey's taking now as boxing's new commissioner. This scares me. AI in general scares me. I mean, how many more sci-fi movies do we have to watch about us trying to regain control of our life from computers, Luke? We're going to head to war against AI one of these days. I hope I'm gone before that.
I have much less concern about AI doing any of those things. I tend to think the technology is totally overstated. It can do some things quite well. It can do some things very well. It can do a lot of things very poorly.
What is it going to do next? Send text alerts to our family members when we open up browsers and a shadow tab on our phone? I mean, what's happening here?
There's a lot of hype around it without anybody asking any questions like, hey, how does this actually work? Can we see it? And people might say, oh, well, this fight will show us how it works. But one fight actually doesn't show you how it works. And it doesn't actually tell us, again, show me within the technology and the programming itself, what are you doing with it that leads you to believe you can make something that can ascertain winning? Holy shit, that is a very, very complex task that is even above, from what I can tell, anything even remotely ready for, again, the proprietary technology that, I want to say this one more time, is very good technology for stats collection. That's what it, or highlight generation. But this idea that you can take it and then infer winning performances, or what really landed with impact, or what really hurt, or what was actually the most damaging, is fucking ludicrous. It's ludicrous. You have to be a dullard to think there's anything here. It's nothing.
Well,
Absolutely
now, Luke,
nothing.
I always want to have a third voice because Luke and I are entering into our old man, get off our lawn phase. I don't know everything about this changing world. I don't know if you get out from outside your smoking apparatus to understand this too. Are we making sense? Should we be nervous, or is this just the future? Buckle up, get involved.
So I know you want a definitive voice here, but I'm kind of on the fence because I do a lot of these tech press conferences and shit outside of this job. And they're all these tech companies are going into AI. Luke's right. Like literally every single one of them. And it's great for their automated systems and all that shit. But I'm like you, BC, where I'm a little bit like, dude, in 50 years, are we even going to exist? Are robots going to take over? I don't know. So
maybe they're doing all this too. They were all doing the metaverse before, and then they were all. I mean, they are all copycats. And as soon as they find the next thing that they can sell to consumers, they're gonna, they're not gonna abandon AI per se. I don't think that's quite right, but they're gonna just jump on the next one, and there will be iterative improvements in AI. I do believe that. Again, some of the stuff they do on the visual side actually seems to me to have some promise. You saw that Google came out with what was it called, like VO, and then Sora came out earlier as well. These are some platforms that are trying to show you what AI can do in terms of motion picture generation, but being able to discern winning performances of highly complicated tasks with software that is designed for statistical generation and highlight creation is so beyond the pale of anything you should ever take serious. It's a fucking joke, and just treat it that way. It's no more, no less.
Get off of our lawn. We're old. Leave us alone.
Dude, but here's the problem with being old. Everyone's like, oh, you guys are just, you're old, and who are the two Muppets that are all on the
Waldorf and the other guy, yeah.
And Statler, or whatever his name is, right? Yeah. But the reality is, the older you get, this is true, and I'm sure it'll be even truer when I'm 20 or 60 if I make it that far, and then beyond.
I hope you do.
You see the same scams come up every fucking time, or at least they rhyme with one another. And then you see people not asking questions about it, which like you saw the last scam, people didn't ask questions on how it turned out. And then you see someone try another thing where they offer no proof of concept, no validity, no history, no nothing, no one asking any questions about it. You're like, right, I have seen this fucking movie before. I'm sorry, I just have. So it makes me a little bit jaded, but there's constant, dude. Combat sports is filled with people who are trying to get one over on the audience all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You must have a skeptical attitude about anything any promoter tries, especially one that are making a gigantic claim that they can. Dude, think about that. You can revolutionize judging. Do you hear how insanely difficult and monumental an achievement that has to be in order to do it? And you've offered no proof of how it works. You've offered no explanation of how it came together. And you're using something that we know is designed for statistical and highlight generation. Do you have to be a smart person to realize that maybe it's an empty fucking suit? I don't think you do.
Now, if we get to the point where we can have AI wives, do you think Jason Aaron would be the first to experiment with that? I'm sorry, Pennington James. Yes.
Pennington James. Yeah. Whatever it is, he'll be late to the party and also do it bad.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Hey, speaking of promoters who make large claims and we have to figure out if we can trust them, let's go to our final topic before we get into our live viewer Q&A. And this is about the PFL, and specifically Don to the Double N Davis firing back, showing some moxie on the Twitter in the midst of what has been a rough PR season for PFL post-championship card, which has seen all of the PFL Bellator fighters, or the big name ones at least, ask for their release, call out the promotion for not getting enough fights. Let's go to some tweets from Don. First, there was a big tease of a big announcement about the schedule coming out next year. And Don Davis tweeted, PFL fans, mark your calendar. There it is, 30 events, 320 fights, the most ever for PFL MMA fighters and fans. You can see the schedule on there. Luke, the only thing I like better than PFL is more PFL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not one explanation of Bellator. I guess maybe they're going to get rid of the brand. I don't really know. No explanation of what they're going to do with the guys like Patchy Mix. Are they going to let Pitbull go, who has been lobbying for his release? Like, are you going to change the season format? Like, just more of what you're doing. Like, I can't believe like what they, I mean, I don't know what they think, but I hope, I'll say this. I hope that they don't think what the problem is. We just need more of it. Oh, hey, you know that product that people find confusing and at times good, a lot of times missing, a lot of times boring, a lot of times you don't know what's coming or going. Let's just do that, except more. I think, why is that a winning? Again, this is what I mean, dude. We sound like old crusty fucks, but it's like, I've seen this shit before. I've seen people try to beat you over the head with scale. Oh, we'll just do more with scale. But scale isn't exactly the problem here, is it? It's much more precise. And again, want to be clear, hold on. Maybe they have an answer for that. Maybe they actually are going to roll out some changes that we can say, okay, this is a little bit better.
I'd be ready for that. Like I said, if they're rolling out the tournament regular season format again in 25, they're going to have the same results. If they're rolling out PFL Bellator again in 25, which it seems like they are, they're going to have the same results. Now, Patricio Pitbull, the face of Bellator's history, right? The most successful fighter, has continued to push on Twitter for his release. Finally, we got some form of a response from Don Davis. Let's see his tweet, which says, PFL has always provided all fighters 2 fights a year. When we acquired Bellator, they had 0 fight events scheduled for their Bellator 210 fighters in 2024. PFL stepped in and did the best we could for them. In 2025, all fighters, again, will get 2 fights a year. But like, Luke, okay, so what are you going to get offered? 2 more Bellator International Championship Series Road to Dubai fights, which are inevitably just rematches against other unhappy former Bellator fighters. Pitbull had a response to that tweet, which said, as far as the PFL providing everyone 2 fights, I really hope that's what's going to happen and not because many more will be cut. I want PFL to succeed. It's good for the sport and for the fighters. Pitbull closed with, that said, I want to leave right away. Can we agree to it this week?
He's right. It is better if they succeed. It is better if they're around, but fighters need somewhere to go. I fully agree with that. And so again, if they're doing more in that sense, there's something to be said for that, BC. But
they're fighting for worthless titles and worthless rematches, or maybe they're getting added to a pay-per-view card in a fight that goes nowhere because they don't have 1 championship. They have like 5 championships in different silos. That's your issue, Don. You don't need more fight cards and more fights. You need to consolidate, do less and make it matter. What the frick?
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with that. Again, so like what I want to see is, and I go back to the original Don Davis one that's got like, so you got PFL Global season in March, PFL Champions series. I guess that's going to be Bellator. Like, what the fuck is the PFL Champions series? Oh, you know what? Is that the playoffs? Like what?
Dude,
Long Island Luke, is that the playoffs?
That we have no idea.
I think the global season is like the regular season / playoffs.
So what is the PFL Champion Series? Is that them telegraphing they're getting rid of Bellator?
No, like wasn't when Francis fought Renan Fajeda, wasn't that PFL Champion Series? I think it's just like super fights, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. And then PFL Europe, whatever, PFL Mideast, whatever, PFL Africa, whatever. It's like 3 of those you can't even get in the United States for the most part. Like it's hard to watch. And then I don't know. I mean, dude, we do this for what the fuck is the PFL Champion Series? And I'm sure some members of our audience are more clued in and know more than us. But this is my point. Like it shouldn't be that hard to discern what your product is. Like I don't need more of it. I need it clarified. I need it streamlined, and I need it boosted with quality. Not just we did this 5 times last year. Now we're going to do it 15. Okay. All right. That's something, but
dude, I don't know if, I mean, Pitbull seems like he's up against it here, but I wish they could just let all those guys go because you're not using them. They're not putting the good Bellator fighters in their regular season. They're barely using them on the pay-per-views. Cyborg couldn't get fights. I mean, like, it just makes, I don't know. We've been through this.
I'm Googling PFL Champion Series, and the first thing that comes up is Bellator Champion Series,
which has been renamed Road to Dubai Championship Series.
Yes,
yet they're defending Bellator titles.
Yet another list of things. If anyone in the comments knows, and maybe we're missing something here, please. But like, it shouldn't be this hard to discern what the brand is, and
it shouldn't be this hard for the fighters to get answers, right? Like we shouldn't be at the point where you're literally tweeting at your boss to say, let me go. I mean, it's ridiculous to me, but
well, you know what? My favorite fight is, I was trying to do a Don Davis, like, what's your favorite fight? Well, can I be honest with you? When I'm not trying to get private equity to give us money, I loathe this fucking sport. and I watch none of it. It's like, okay.
I really don't watch our fights either, but I can tell you we have the best. We
Yeah.
have the best. All right, there you go. Luke, one of our great producers, Matt, just sent us to hell in the private chat for being old guys. Maybe we deserved it. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. All
right. Two responses to that. One, like, Matt is sketchy. Let's just be honest about that. That's the first thing I'd say.
Matt loves Dogecoin. Okay.
Matt's sketchball. Second thing I'd say is, and I say this to everybody, I see a lot of, there's a buddy of mine who I met at the gym, who's like in his 20s, and he kind of very lighthearted me. He's always kind of joking me about like my injuries, nagging and shit. And I'm gonna say to you guys what I say to him all the time. It's like, motherfucker, your day is coming too. Yeah, it's hard to you see people at 40 and up, and you think, oh, they've always just been that way because that's the relationship you have to them. Your day is coming too, and you will see that as you get older, the rhyming of scamming that takes place in combat sports is undeniable.
Yeah. One day there will be a knock on your door. It will be old balls, and you're going to have to answer it. That's the truth about life.
Reality.
Okay. All right, let's go to our live fan Q&A. Our producers have been collecting questions all show. You can send yours in right now in the live chat on YouTube here at Morning Combat. Let's do it, Long Island Luke. Hit us with the horns, money. First one from JN, Luke. What's the Elon Musk thing?
He's so fucking awful. He's just the worst. The basic idea is, when I was a kid, on the end of East Capitol Street was RFK, and that's where at the time the Super Bowl winning, at the time the Washington Redskins played, and they moved to Landover, Maryland, and have been there ever since. That area, RFK, and that it's like a giant parking lot around it. It sits dormant. There's nothing happening there. It has been sitting dormant for almost a decade. And what's interesting about it is the federal government owns it, but they have no plans for it. They don't want to build on it. They don't want to use it. It just sits there. It literally just sits there. And the Commanders have new ownership, and they want to get a stadium deal, and they want to get back there for a lot of reasons. There's metro stops there. It's inside the city, and it's 174 acres. I cannot overstate it. It's just a giant fucking parking lot, but it can be redeveloped with commercial and residential and the stadium. And again, I know a lot of people are like, well, do you want billionaires to get a stadium deal? And the answer is, well, yeah, you can come down on that whatever you want, but it would only be a tax-paying issue for the people of DC, me, my neighbors. It would involve nobody else. It has no national ramifications. The bill was put in place by our lone congressman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, and all it says is it gives jurisdiction to control it from the federal government to the city for 99 years so that they can then possibly redevelop it. It doesn't mean that they actually will redevelop it, but it at least sets the framework so that they can. This dumb fuck who owns Twitter gets out there and tweets fake fucking news that there was $3 billion allotted that the taxpayers of the United States were going to be on the hook for to pay for it, which could not be further from the truth. Not one fucking penny of that would have gone. Nothing, zero. It comes at no cost whatsoever to the people of the United States. It would only possibly have a cost to people who live in Washington, D.C. He tweets fake news about it, and then they remove it from the continuing resolution. And I know the response is, well, these things should be voted on individually. It's like, have you paid attention to how laws are passed the last 100 fucking years? They have to group things together, and they often do, including around omnibus bills and continuing resolutions, because there's so much that they have to get in. It's literally not possible to go program by program, law by law, tax cut by tax cut, debating on the Senate floor and then sending to the House or vice versa. Like, nothing would ever get passed if you had to do it one by one. That's why they group it. They grouped it. It had no cost to the taxpayers. This fucking guy lied to the people, lied to everybody, and they removed it. And now, dude, like the city of DC had to make a deal with the government of Maryland. They had to make a deal with a fucking Nebraska senator who was trying to, bring the old logo back because they were trying to do some kind of anti-woke thing, which whatever. I don't even give a fuck about any of that. But they had to jump through a million hoops just to get it on the continuing resolution, cost nobody anything, and he lied to people and got it removed. And now I don't know if we're going to have a new stadium. The one that we're existing in has been dilapidated beyond belief. They were supposed, when Bruce Allen took over in 2009, he was suggesting we would have been in a new stadium like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and we're still in this fucking thing. All for
Luke,
nothing,
really
dude. All for nothing, because he's a fucking moron who
Luke,
spreads fake news.
It's a new dawn in our country, and you're going to have to respect the, government cabinet members like Linda McMahon, Dr. Oz, Kid Rock, and Elon Musk, because those are the people that run our nation now.
Yeah, so, a bunch of unelected motherfuckers. And at least, Linda McMahon would have a formal role with inside government. She used to work at the Small Business Administration. Like, she's actually got some experience. There's a formal role here. This unelected shitbag from the diamond mines of wherever the fuck, like, stop fucking with people you know nothing about, you have no relationship to. He's an inveterate liar.
All right,
and
he's cannot believe.
Last thing. I cannot believe that more people don't see through his obvious fucking bullshit. There you go.
There we go. Hip hop horns take down Musk. Let's go to our next fan question on this great holiday show here that's my guy, Luke Arturo from Mexico. We met him at the London live show. He represents AZ Ray Videos. He said, could Karate Combat become a disruptor in MMA due to its striker-friendly style and fun jiu-jitsu matchups? Robelis de Spagne, recently cut heavyweight from the UFC, just scored, the fastest knockout in Karate Combat history?
4 seconds.
Damn.
4 seconds.
What do you think about that? Can they make an impact like BKFC? BKFC's been a disruptor in combat sports. Can Karate Combat get there, or is it too weird and too...
I think weird is good. I don't know if it can work. It's hard to say. I don't see what kind of money they draw. It's, but like, do they have a little bit of a groundswell for their product? They do. Do they have, an interesting kind of differentiator relative to the norm? They do. I think the problem is they don't have quite the talent that they need, but again, just doing more regular ass MMA definitely ain't going to cut it. You got to do something a little bit different. And by the way, one today is doing more 4-ounce Muay Thai. Like,
yeah,
you can like it, you can hate it, but it's different, and that makes it stand out.
Indeed. Let's keep the questions coming from our great people here in the MK community. From Archer versus Light. Hey, would Luke and BC accept? That's an interesting question. Luke, would you and I accept broadcasting gigs from the GFL if they came in with the big paychecks? And what he didn't write here, would we be disqualified because we dunked on them when this announcement came last week?
I'll take their fucking money. You know what I mean? Like, I'm letting you know what's going to happen with the product. It's not going to last that long, but it's the same thing as a fighter taking it. Take the money while it's there and then go on about your day. Now, would I wax poetic about the beauty of the GFL model on the broadcast? I don't know if I'd be willing to do something like that, but like, you want me to call fights? You want me to like do backstage interviews? I'll take your fucking check. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The answer to me is, Luke, yes, I want to work in broadcasting and combat sports. All right. It's hard, Luke. It's hard to maintain that interest and want while being a critical voice in this industry, which we do for a living on this show. But, it's a balance I'm willing to accept it and juggle. Okay.
Same.
Yeah, I like working and I like cashing checks. Hey, let's see what else we got from the people here. From Shavkat Rachmanov, the cat version of
Look
Shavkat.
at that cat, that AI cat.
The best cream for coffee, and why is it fermented horse milk? Luke, what do you put in your coffee? Do you like your coffee like you like your women?
I typically get it black. I put a little bit of Splenda in it. If I do put cream, it's just whole milk, right?
Okay.
You?
Okay. I put in, the flavor.
Oh, you put in like blueberry cream shit, whatever.
I became a flavored creamer guy. You get the vanilla silk, the almond milk, you pour in a little bit. It makes it all happy and lovely. I can drink it black, Luke. I can grow hair on my chest if I need to at any point. I've drinking some of the grossest week-old coffee and just reheated it. All right. I've been a frontliner. Okay. I come from a long line of people who abuse caffeine, but I try to keep it to 1 cup a day. Give me a little flavored creamer in there. All right.
All right. Fair enough.
Let's hit it. Hit it, Long Island. This is from Remember Danger Mouse? He used to be a big part of our show, and then he got mad at us.
Love Danger Mouse. Glad he's back.
He says Dakota Ditcheva has confirmed she's with PFL for another year.
Okay.
What other than a $1 million tournament can they offer Dakota? And is there anyone outside of the UFC who could be brought in? Look, before you answer that, I think Dakota revealed on Ariel's show that the UFC attempted to trade for her with the PFL and it was declined. Did you hear that too?
Who declined? PFL?
Yes.
That's interesting. Who would they have given up?
I don't know that answer. I don't know if Ben Askren's walking through that door another time, but do you think, I mean, look, like they could have her fight in a tournament again and you can win $1 million a second time. Kayla did it twice. Yep. Or do you think it's time to put her in their pay-per-view series? I mean, they give out belts for everything in PFL. Do you think it's time? They give out more belts than the WBC does. You see that Shark Tooth Rumble in the Jungle belt that they brought to Riyadh yesterday? No, even though the Rumble in the Jungle was in Africa. I don't know. Anyway, Luke, I want to ask you this. Should they put her on pay-per-view now and make her a featured attraction or stick her back in the tournament?
I don't know who they have for her to fight. I mean, I suspect they're going to do what they did with Patchy Mix, which is like, oh, you know how you already fought Magomedov? Well, you're going to fight Magomedov. She's probably going to fight Tyler Santos again. You know, to be honest with you, like, I don't really know how that would work. Here's the thing. If I was a 125er in UFC, depending on how I felt about things and where I was, that's an interesting opportunity to consider. You know, Derek Lewis got a decent deal out of it. Now they keep him inactive because he got a decent deal out of it in terms of like what he gets paid per bout. But that's,
I mean, should they go after some Invicta talent?
I've not looked at Invicta is doing well and kind of chugging along, which I'm really happy to see.
I saw Jennifer Maia won one of their belts the last card.
Yes, she did. I don't know exactly what their 125 roster looks like, but yeah, you got to find them wherever that you can get them if you're PFL at this point, because Ditcheva is like one of the very best things you've got going. You got to make that work.
Yeah, and shout out to Danger Mouse. I think he's a Brit, Luke. You know, I think he was sore at us during the time of our London live show, but I got nothing but love for that MFer, okay?
I got nothing but love as well. Glad to see he's back.
Yeah, and I talked to Appy yesterday. He's still alive, Luke. I think he's still a little rapey, but I love that man too. You know what I'm saying?
Is he on the run from Interpol?
I mean, if he's the Harvey Weinstein of MMA, do you think Jed Meshew is the Hunter Biden of combat journalism? All right, next question.
Smoking crack and doing orgies?
Yes. From Suit Rags, why is Luke always so mad? Luke, that's a great question. Let's get you on the couch right now. Why the hell are you always angry?
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I can tell you about this year, but I've said it a million times. And this week in particular, I haven't fucking slept in days, man. Days.
Sleep is knowing you this intimately, if you will, Luke, I don't want to, but if you will, this intimately, I'd say lack of consistent sleep is one of your biggest enemies.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it didn't used to be like when I was in my 20s, I could sleep 8-9 hours, no problem. I can't remember the last time I slept 8 hours. I couldn't tell you when that was. I just don't remember. I don't know, man. I've kind of always had a chip on my shoulder. I think that's
because you moved so many times in high school.
Not just, dude, high school. I moved all the time in elementary school. I moved all the time in middle school, and I moved all the time in high school. Like, you know, William and Mary was the only institution I ever attended where I went from the beginning to the end that you could with all the, you couldn't call them grades, but you know, whatever. I never did that with any other school I was ever in. I moved so often, you know. I don't know, man. I guess I had a rocky childhood, bro. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that. But I can tell you, like, I've just kind of, I don't know if me against the world is quite right, but
you and Tupac, you know,
I'll say this.
Both have tattoos on your midriff.
I'll say this, BC. This is a true thing. And I've said this before, which is, you know, I make bad first impressions and then I kind of always have to win people back.
Yeah.
And that's true professionally. It's true personally. And, you know, the good side is I win a lot of them back. And then those end up being some of the best relationships I've ever had, personal and professional. But it does something to me. It makes me, you know, it.
Are you saying that being nice makes you angry?
No, it's not the being nice. It's that I always have to validate. There's always so much friction that I have to go through to validate who I am.
Yeah.
And that has worn on me over time.
Well, you've never hid from reaching out to therapy when needed. I'm in therapy every 2 weeks, Luke. I don't hide from that. It helps me get by.
I need to go.
Have you considered a return? That's where I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been since the years after my mom died. So it's been, well, it's not quite true, but mostly it's true that was the last time I did it consistently. And again, that's not quite true because I did it up until 2009 and 10, but it's been quite some time that I did it consistently. And I think it's probably in order that I go back. Yeah.
All right, I appreciate you being candid on this topic. As always, we've got nothing but love, Luke, for you and your well-being moving forward. You got another good one here, Long Island, Luke. Let's keep the fun going for a couple more minutes. This from PT. Promoters in general are all scummy. Is Dana White more or less an average scumbag compared to the others, or is this an extreme version of scumbaggery?
BC, my view is he has an outsized influence because the industry is not regulated, and so he can get away with more. Sure. But it's like, if Eddie Hearn had the advantages that Dana had, do you think he would do anything different? No. You think Bob Arum would do anything different? No. Take your pick. They would all do the same shit if they could. That's just the reality. So, there might be differences on the margins. Maybe you feel a little bit differently, BC, but I tend to think that these guys are going to get away with whatever they can get away with the law, and they'll play it above board, but they're going to push it to the limit.
Look, they're swinging corporate raiders. I think to be in that position, you got to be ambitious, aggressive, a little crazy. You got to covet the spotlight. Although, to be fair, somebody like Al Heyman has been able to really make impacts in this business without seeking the spotlight. But still, it is what it is. You know what you're getting into. This is a wide open game. Even though Turkey's bringing structure, there's still a wide open game, combat sports. So it suits cowboys very well. All right.
Yeah, very, very good.
Gaucho's like Martine Botter of PBC.
Yeah. It's
all right. What else?
Gaucho friendly.
Yeah. Let's go to Matthew Casper. Luke, I'm going to see 6 Feet Under next month, mainly to see Chris Barnes. What are your favorite Barnes tunes with Cannibal? Okay, so this is a band, 6 Feet Under?
Yeah, 6 Feet Under. So Chris Barnes was the original singer of Cannibal Corpse. It's now George Corpse Grinder.
Yes. Which is his given name, ironically.
Anyway, Chris Barnes was the original guy, and I don't really like it. This is controversial. A lot of people like Chris Barnes better. I don't. I think Corpse Grinder is better, but
is this similar to AC/DC going from Bon Scott to Brian Johnson, and there being people that are split in terms of?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yes, that's pretty close. I mean, it's not quite right, but that's pretty close. But I don't like. They do old songs with Corpse Grinder, and I don't miss Chris Barnes at all. So I'm kind of the wrong guy to ask that. I don't care that he's gone from the band. Right. To be honest with you.
All right, hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and now
can I tell you something? Like on fitness TikTok, on fitness IG,
yes,
everybody and their brother, and I don't think it's just them, but I'm saying it's a microcosm into a bigger thing. Dude, the Whites are listening to Creed again.
They are.
I
follow Creed _ daily on Instagram. I love it, Luke. It's getting me back into it. I was rocking out to the song One by Creed yesterday when I was washing the dishes. Dude, I felt like I was ready to take over the world. You know what I mean? But then a minute later, I was in my own prison. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, which one is it? Court is in session. The verdict is in hand.
Okay, what else you got here? I saw someone jump up. Hot cocoa from Shavkat Rock Palmoff. Tiny marshmallow or no marshmallows? You got to go tiny, dude. Tiny.
You got to go marshmallow tiny. You got to.
Don't give me those fat ones. Give me the tiny ones, okay?
The fat ones are good for s'mores, right? You'd agree with that?
Yeah, but it's the same idea when they turn the lights up at the bar on Saturday at 2 a.m. I'm not going for the fat ones, but I'll take it if that's all you're offering, all right? John Jones too.
Didn't quite know where you were going with that one. I was like, yeah, he landed that plane. He did.
Take that. What else? Keep it coming, Chin. What do you got here? From Shavkat again. How stoned will LIL be, Long Island Luke, when Santa comes to town? Long Island Luke, before you open presents with your, I assume your loved one, your lady.
First of all, he's getting his girlfriend like a Mike Tyson song.
Yeah, probably.
We already have it.
Okay, honest question. I did give him one of those Tyson bombs that the sponsor gave us. Will you and your lady, would it be out of bounds? You get the hot cocoa, you sit down for the stockings, the presents, to just grab a quick one real quick, right?
I think that's very accurate to our Christmas morning. I'm not going to lie.
He's living, Luke, he's living the life. He's not sneaking edibles in the bathroom. He's living the life, okay?
He's not new to this. He's true to this. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, he is. All right, keep it coming here. Keep it coming. This is from Jay. Teo versus Tank. Who you got without any clauses from Tank? So if there were no clauses,
Teo might be too big.
It would have to be 140. So if they did it at 140, if Teo can make that again, who do you got, Luke?
First of all, if Boots doesn't take that fight, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Me too.
Bob
Arum told the media yesterday that they're just waiting on a response from Boots. That Turkey's involved. The money's there. They're just waiting on Boots.
I think Tank, if he's really at his best, could win that one and should win that one. I think Tank's ceiling is a little higher. But I don't know where Tank's at mentally, bro. I don't really know. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck he wants out of this anymore. And I don't know. But do you feel differently? Like, I think if Tank were dialed in, I think Tank wins. I don't know if he's dialed in.
I know. Really the thing about Teo is he can go from 0 to 60 and suddenly look like the best fighter in the world at any given time. You know,
so
it'll be a great dude. Oh, man, we got to see these guys fight each other. Come on, Turkey, make them fight each other. All right, here we go. What else you got? This one's from Patrick. Hey guys, question: you think maybe the pressure of fighting in Saudi is what's getting to Fury, or do you think it's just over the hump? I feel the last few performances haven't been his best. Is it because of Saudi at all, Luke?
What does that mean? Like the big paycheck?
Maybe fighting in a foreign land, different time of the day, different crowd experience, a lot of pressure. I don't know. I'm trying to glean from that.
Because he did underperform against Ngannou there too. But there could be other circumstances. I don't know. I think that that's something you should take into consideration, but I don't know that stands out to me as like the easy answer, right?
Yeah, it was just his last two fights, Ngannou and the first Usyk fight were in Saudi for Fury.
Okay, but he lost both. Oh, I mean, okay, he won the Ngannou one, but you know what I mean. He lost the public image.
Both were close. Both were split decisions.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Holy shit, Jesus!
Yeah. Remember when Ariel said Francis should be the boxing and MMA fighter of the year after that loss to Fury?
Did he? I don't remember that.
That was a true fact. It happened. All right.
That's a little aggressive.
Yeah. It was. It was a great performance, though. But it was a little.
It was a great performance. Yes.
And then AJ was like, heat check. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Fucking AJ sent him to the land of wind and ghosts.
All right. Aiden says, "What was your favorite personal MMA moment this year?"
That's so easy, bro. The Max Holloway knockout. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite moments ever.
But to be fair, that's my answer. I would think it's everyone's answer. But the people that know you probably would have guessed it was Topuria knocking out Max, or maybe Volk, either or, to really prove that it was okay to have a boner that large in public.
Don't get me wrong. I was happy to see Topuria do well, but no. Like the thing that was, because the question was, put it up again if you can. Was it the favorite? It was favorite, right? I don't know if
I unstarted, but yeah, it was your favorite MMA moment of the year.
Favorite. Like that's the one that brought me the most joy, for sure. Like
no doubt about it. Not even close. I like the Marab moment at the Sphere. I felt like there was like he finally climbed the mountain. There was a changing of the guard. That was good, but it doesn't compare to Topuria or even Pereira with the 3 knockouts in 175 days. That was just like, what is this guy? You know, who is this man?
For sure.
I hope he's not ducking Ankalaev. All right, give me another one here. From Dave Sandy. This guy gets around our chats. I love this guy, Luke. They say he's an alpha, by the way. But question for you guys: what's your biggest wish for the future for MK in 25? That's a great question. I think I would say the thing I covet the most right now is that we have consistent. I love what we do, the live show on Monday. I think it's professional. I like, reuniting with you in the city, and Long Island Luke is there and our full team. But I want to have access to our own space to do the stuff we used to do that really made us stand out, Luke, that really made us different in this space, edgy, a leader in this space. I want to see us get back to there more than anything.
Yeah, I just want to kind of recapture some of the pieces that fell apart along the way. It's been a tough transition away from Showtime and CBS. We're appreciative of everyone who's stuck with us and the people behind the scenes who have helped us to at least be in this position that we're in, which we're extremely grateful for. But don't get me wrong, I'm happy to do shows 2 days a week, but I want to do more than that. And I think my hope for 2025 is to do more than that.
I'd love to get pregame preview every big pay-per-view. Bang. Exactly. I want to get RSD going. I want to show up on the streets of these big cities, meet the fans. I want to face F every fan that we meet.
And I want to do some fan facing events, like even if it's just a simple tweet up when the UFC comes back to New York. I want to do that. So stay tuned. I hope we can do it.
All right. How many more of these you willing to do, Luke? Because I can go all day, but we have
just a couple. I got to piss, dude. It's
all right.
I'm sick.
2 more, Long Island Luke. Here's Eduardo Lopez, Who would fare better in the current landscape of the respective weight classes? A prime GSP, a prime Anderson Silva, or a prime King of Hio, Jose Aldo?
GSP. GSP, I think, would run over everybody.
That well-rounded, controlled style, great jab, wrestling, great shape, tough as nails. Yeah, that works in any era. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, again, he wasn't perfect. He got knocked out by Matt Serra. He got subbed by Matt Hughes in his, I guess, UFC debut. But dude, he was so fucking special, so thorough.
But couldn't you say all three are good answers? To be fair, all three.
Silva is a more interesting one because you got Hamzat sitting there, and I think Hamzat would be a real big problem for him. But Aldo for sure would also, I think, prime Aldo would probably win a title. How long he could hold it, I don't know. But and then also like prime Aldo was a 145er, so if we're asking on that level. He probably would also be, either contending for a title or outright holding it at some point. So yeah, but I do think that GSP, I've seen people be like, how good was he? Blah, blah, blah. I lived through Kamaru Usman's reign. I lived through GSP's reign. GSP and Matt Hughes before him, Pat Miletich before him, Carlos Newton, all the Tyron Woodley. I saw Robbie Lawler. I saw them all. GSP has been to me easily the most impressive 170-pound champion I've ever seen. He was way, way ahead of the game when he was competing actively. Just a different guy.
I would have to agree with you on that one. One more question from the people, and we appreciate you guys staying with us, pumping them in from Juan Morales. What's a concert or artist you didn't think you would like that you ended up loving? And he adds that this question is coming from a Colombian donk.
Oof. Why don't you go first, BC?
Well, there's so many. But probably the greatest pick, I would say this. I always respected the Black Crowes as a decent, early 90s roots rock radio band that gives you those 60s and 70s feels. But when I saw them on their reunited, rejuvenated 05 tour, first in the rain at Bonnaroo and then on the floor at MSG on New Year's Eve, that New Year's Eve show turned out to be my favorite concert I ever went to for like the next 20 years. It recently got passed by a My Morning Jacket show I was at where they just basically peeled my face off. But Luke, I would say that it was a band that I was like, yeah, they're kind of cool. And then I saw them rejuvenated up close and personal. And I was like, this band is absolutely so much greater than I thought they were in terms of being able to jam, the ability, the cool factor, the explosiveness. They're still bringing it today, but I was shocked to be able to, for 20 years, to basically be like, yeah, that's the best concert I ever saw.
Okay, I'll go both directions. One that I thought way overperformed what I was expecting, and then one that way underperformed. Let's go with the overperforming. It's not like this is some band that no one's heard of. It's one of the biggest bands of our lifetime, but I was never a big fan. I just, went along to the concert because my wife liked him, which was Guns N' Roses. And this was the reunited one. So this was Slash and Axl. And I saw them at the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore. And, again, when those bands were hot, I was more a Metallica guy than I was a GNR guy. But I said this before, it's not like I changed my opinion of GNR. It's still not my favorite kind of music. But I think I said this on the show at the time, BC, and I'll reiterate it here. Slash is the captain of that ship.
Oh, dude, Slash is one of the 10 greatest guitarists of all time, in my opinion. I mean,
dude, but it's more than that. Like, Axl is the front man and he gets all the glory, but Slash is the captain of that ship. Yes. And what ends up happening, at least the current, I don't know how it was back in the day, but the way it happens now is that Axl takes breaks and changes wardrobe and, I think rests his voice.
Fellatio, baby.
Yeah, gets his dick sucked. Who knows? But you know who doesn't take a break? It's Slash.
Yes.
He just plays consistently, doesn't miss a note, plays with fervor. And because I saw him a couple of times, plays with fervor and enthusiasm. I was blown away by how good he was. I mean, didn't miss a note, nothing. He vastly overperformed my expectations, and I have a lot of respect for Slash. On the other side, when I was in high school, I saw Wu-Tang Clan with Rage Against the Machine. Rage was great. Wu-Tang Clan was terrible. Terrible. Absolutely one of the worst things I'd ever fucking seen in my life. And I love them, but they're awful in concert. Awful.
Do you know what I just found out this year? That Slash's mother was the costume designer for many a rock star, from John Lennon to Diana Ross, Ringo Starr, Janet Jackson, David Bowie. And that when Slash was small, she was dating David Bowie for a brief period. So he grew up in that.
Yeah. I mean, he looks it, dude. He's a wizard and a like a talented showman and a fucking, I mean, just an experienced musician. You know what I mean?
It's good old Saul Hudson is his real name.
Oh, dude, he's special. Like, I really came away from that being like, yo, Axel's cool, you know,
yeah,
Joe's cool. No, Slash is the captain of that.
Their
shit.
best live song is Rocket Queen, Luke. It will kick you right in the feel hole.
November Rain, because we had I've never gotten front row seats, but when I saw them, because I saw them, I got taken to a GNR concert when they played at FedEx Field, worst stadium in the world. But you know, it was a stadium show. Like, we're way in the back.
No RFK, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, dude, RFK is like, I mean, it's just sitting there. Thanks to Elon. Thank you, Elon Musk. You.
I didn't hear about that. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, just sitting there dormant. But as I mentioned, the second time I saw him, it was an arena show, and I said, you know what, man, I'm just gonna, like, for my wife's birthday, I'm gonna get a really nice seat. So we got that front area right by the stage. And then just to watch Slash get handed new guitars every fucking song, and he's just not missing anything. And to see what he added to November Rain, and then like they had a piano, but the seat for the piano for Axel was the back of a motorcycle that had flames coming out of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool show. Like, I mean, again, it's not my kind of music, but I was like, you know, y'all rock the fuck out. Like, there's no denying.
All right. Thank you, Luke. Thank you for gutting it through on this show. And a reminder, everybody, that we will be back before Christmas, December 23rd, this Monday, live and direct, 11 a.m. Eastern on the YouTubes. We'll recap Usyk versus Fury Part 2. Long Island Luke, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you have a great weekend. Are you still there with us? Can we still see you?
Yes, I'm still here. Join me and Gaff tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Tyson, Usyk. I guess Usyk Fury, excuse me. Watch and bet along. We'll have bets on every fight. Join us then. Thank you.
There it is. You can check out post-fight reactions at some point tomorrow on Luke's channel, my channel as well. You can follow us below. We'll reunite Monday, whether you're celebrating Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa. I don't know what else is out there on the menu. Enjoy it. Take care of yourselves. Hug your loved ones. Don't wait until Christmas Eve to finish your shopping like I've done at least half of my adult life. And Luke Thomas, any final message for these people?
We'll see you guys Monday, or, you know, again, for tomorrow's coverage, but then certainly on Monday. And yeah, thanks for everyone who watched today. We love you.
Yeah, look, we're here for you, but you guys are here for us, and we appreciate that. We love you. Take care of yourselves, but until then, we're out of here.